Chapter 4204. Greetings, Master. The Ironblood Daoist stood up and knelt before Jiyu Fei. Greetings, Master. The group of Wanxiang City's upper echelons in the City Lord's Mansion's main hall all knelt down towards Jiyu Fei. This, the Wujue saint was dumbfounded when he saw this. He looked at Jiyu Fei in horror. This black-robed young man is the legendary Jiyu Fei who trampled on the demon ancestor and killed the paramount ruler with a single punch. Jiyu Fei had leveled the East Region Devil Lair, which was a great contribution to the human race. He had also fought in the Sky Market, killed the Terminus ruler, reopened the Heavenly Gate, and reconstructed the Path of Heaven. This was a major event that had a profound impact on both the Heaven Realm and the human realm. Jiyu Fei had changed the situation of the Heaven Realm and the human realm single-handedly. Jiyu Fei's deeds had already spread throughout the human realm and Heaven Realm. However, even though he had made great contributions to the human race, there were still countless human race experts who wanted his life. Jiyu Fei had many friends, but he also had many enemies. Whether it was the Dongfang family, the primordial Zhao family, the East Sky Emperor Yuan Jiyu, or of course, the demons, they were all Jiyu Fei's greatest enemies. They didn't dare to cause trouble for Jiyu Fei, but they dared to cause trouble for his daughter, Jiyu Ling, and his subordinate, the Ironblood Daoist. In fact, with Jiyu Fei's strength, he had established forces in various great realms. If he united these forces, who in the world could be his opponent? He had left behind forces in the Desolate World, Ancestral God Realm, and Ancestral Realm. The Heaven Realm had the Old Tortoise, and the Human Realm had the Ironblood Daoist. Ironblood, you're not bad. Jiyu Fei looked at the Ironblood Daoist who was kneeling on the ground. This guy had actually cultivated to the Great Sage Realm. It seemed like he hadn't been idle all these years. The Great Saint of Ironblood was the strongest expert in Wanxiang City. Zhu Guliang was a little weaker, only at the great perfection of Saint King Realm. However, this was still not bad. With the Iron Blood Sage presiding over the myriad phenomenon city and the killing array laid down by Jiyu Fei, even a quasi-supremacy wouldn't be able to breach the city. In the mortal realm, supreme beings couldn't appear. The power of heavenly punishment suppressed supreme beings, so no supreme beings dared to appear in the mortal realm. Master? Saint Wujue's voice was trembling. Impudent. Why aren't you kneeling? The iron-blooded great saint said angrily to Saint Wujue. Yes. Greetings, Master. Saint Wujue immediately knelt before Jiyu Fei. Get up. Jiyu Fei waved his hand and walked straight to the throne in the middle of the hall. When he arrived before the throne, he sat down without any hesitation. At that moment, a furious roar rang out from the ancestral grounds of the Zhao family. The Ironblood Daoist actually dared to kill my men. He deserves to die. A white-robed young man walked out from the depths of the ancestral grounds of the Zhao family. The white-robed young man soared into the sky and instantly disappeared from the world. At the same time, another person walked out from the ancestral grounds of the Dongfang family. This person was a sage from the Eastern world and was extremely powerful. Whoosh! The sage of the Dongfang family took a step and instantly disappeared into the void. Ironblood Daoist, come out and die. Outside the myriad phenomenon city, the white-robed young man from the Zhao family shouted. Zhao Xiu, come in if you can. On top of the city wall, the Ironblood Daoist said to the white-robed young man, Zhao Xiu. His tone was filled with disdain. Zhao Xiu was furious, but he didn't dare to attack the myriad phenomenon city recklessly because the entire myriad phenomenon city was a gigantic formation. Haha, why? You don't dare. The Ironblood Daoist laughed on top of the city wall. Zhao Xiu was also a great sage, but Jiyu Fei had made his name much earlier than Zhao Xiu. Kill. Zhao Xiu was furious and immediately used his Dao tool. A divine light rushed out from the top of his head and a divine saber was wrapped in the divine light. Whoosh! The divine saber pierced through the sky and the saber radiance soared as though it could split the entire world in half. Seeing Zhao Xiu unleash such a powerful move, the cultivators in the myriad phenomenon city were all shocked. Zhao Xiu really lived up to his reputation. Zhao Xiu was the most outstanding descendant of the Zhao family from the desolate region. Together with the goddess of the Zhao family, he became the next successor of the Zhao family's family head. Of course, there was only one family head. The position of family head would belong to whoever won. Zhao Xiu's reputation was not as famous as the goddess of the Zhao family. However, his cultivation was on par with the goddess of the Zhao family. If they were to fight to the death, they would have to fight until the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Rumble, the heavens and the earth shook as an incomparably powerful energy wave spread across the world. Buzz. The incomparably resplendent saber radiance landed in the sky above the myriad phenomenon city. In the next moment, a layer of divine light appeared in the sky above the myriad phenomenon city and blocked the saber radiance. What? Zhao Xiu couldn't help but frown. The myriad phenomenon city's city protection formation was indeed different. It was said that it was created by Ji Yufei. It seemed like it was true. Ji Yufei was an expert of his generation. He conquered everywhere and swept across the human realm. Even in the heaven realm, no one was his match, and he even flattened a perilous land. His cultivation base, his battle prowess, and his battle achievements were probably unparalleled throughout the ages. The rulers of the desolate perilous lands were not to be trifled with. Zhao Xiu extended his right hand and the resplendent saber radiance immediately flew back to him. He held it in his hand and the divine light dissipated. A black saber appeared in his hand. Peerless saber? The Iron Blood Daoist's heart skipped a beat when he saw the black saber in Zhao Xiu's hand. This saber was very famous. It was a famous Dao artifact of the desolate era Zhao clan. Its name was Peerless Saber. This was a quasi-supreme Dao artifact that could unleash a full-powered attack of a quasi-supreme. However, with Zhao Xiu's cultivation and battle prowess, it was impossible for him to unleash the full power of this Peerless Saber. Again, Zhao Xiu held the saber with both hands and slashed out again. This time, the saber radiance illuminated the entire world. It was 10 times brighter than before, and it was so bright that no one could open their eyes. Even the Iron Blood Daoist felt his eyes hurt. This shocked him. The power of this Peerless Saber was indeed terrifying. Could it be comparable to his Phoenix Tribulation? However, even if Zhao Xiu's saber could slash down the stars in the sky and split open the Divine Mountain, it still couldn't break the myriad phenomenon city's city protection formation. A layer of divine light enveloped the entire myriad phenomenon city and blocked the Peerless Saber radiance outside. Countless formation runes interweaved on the divine light and formed ancient Dao diagrams. Although Ji Yufei wasn't a formation grandmaster, the formations he laid down weren't something just anyone could break. Good. Haha, very good. Chapter 4205. Zhao Xiu was one of the most outstanding descendants of the Zhao clan of the Desolation in the human realm. He was also one of the most outstanding people of the Zhao clan in the past tens of thousands of years. He had only cultivated for a few thousand years, yet he was already a great saint. In addition, he held a peerless saber in his hand. Even heavenly sovereigns were wary of him and didn't want to provoke him. The peerless divine saber of the Zhao clan of the Desolation was a quasi-supreme Dao tool. With Zhao Xiu's cultivation, he naturally couldn't unleash the true power of this peerless divine saber. At this moment, Ji Yufei was sitting on the throne of the Wanxiang City Lord's palace. His eyes could see through the void and directly see Zhao Xiu, who was high up in the sky outside the city. How is this guy's cultivation compared to the Zhao clan's goddess? Ji Yufei asked Zhuge Liang, who was beside him. Master, it's really hard to say. The Zhao clan's goddess might be a bit stronger, but she has been in seclusion for 300 years. I don't know what her cultivation is now. Zhuge Liang muttered. It turned out that the Zhao clan's goddess had been in seclusion for a long time this time. It had already been 300 years. Of course, for an existence like the Zhao clan's goddess, it wouldn't be strange for her to be in seclusion for 1,000 years, let alone 300 years. Some old monsters would even be in seclusion for tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. Any news about Azure Dragon? Ji Yufei suddenly thought of this old rival of his. In the past, the southern wasteland was filled with geniuses. However, When Ji Yufei appeared, he single-handedly defeated all the heroes of the southern wasteland. He was almost invincible among the younger generation. At that time, Azure Dragon was his greatest rival. However, even Azure Dragon was defeated by Ji Yufei in the end. Therefore, Ji Yufei could be said to be invincible among the younger generation of the Southern Desolate. Azure Dragon? I haven't heard from him for a long time, Zhuge Liang said. The current Southern Desolate was no longer the Southern Desolate of the past. The four ancient clans completely dominated the Southern Desolate. Even the Zhu clan had to retreat. One should know that the Zhu clan of the Desolate was not to be trifled with. Even the Zhu family of the ancients was unwilling to provoke the four ancient clans. One could only imagine how strong the four ancient clans were right now. I came back this time to see my old friend. However, there is something I have to do immediately. Ji Yufei's expression turned serious. Master, please instruct us. We will do anything for you. The upper echelons of Wanxiang City in the main hall hurriedly said. Is the human race's ancient road still controlled by the Qin clan? Ji Yufei said. Yes, the Qin clan is an imperial clan and once had a great emperor. I heard that the old ancestor of the Qin clan, the Qin emperor, has a quasi-supreme cultivation base and is just a step away from becoming a paragon. Zhuge Liang said. Because of the existence of the heavenly punishment, no matter if it was the heaven realm or the human realm, those quasi-sovereigns didn't dare to take that step. One had to understand that once one took that step, they would draw down the wrath of the heavens. That was the same as courting death. Of course, there were some who didn't believe it and took that step with the belief that man could conquer the heavens. After that, there was no more after that. No matter who it was, no matter how heaven-defying their physique and cultivation base, under the wrath of the heavenly punishment, there would only be one outcome: death in both body and soul. Ever since Ji Yufei left, the Qin clan flourished. This Qin clan even occupied the entrance of the human race's ancient road. Anyone who wanted to step on the human race's ancient road would have to pay a toll. Qin Emperor, Ji Yufei thought of the old man in the past. The great emperors of the human realm weren't comparable to the great emperors of the heavenly god world. Those great emperors of the heavenly god world were hierarchs and not even saints. However, the great emperors of the human realm were different. They were existences that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the human emperor and contend against extreme supremes. It wasn't a secret that the Qin clan once had a great emperor. Hence, the Qin clan was also known as an imperial clan. Back then, Qin Yarrow was the princess. I want to take a trip to the human race's ancient road. Ji Yufei said. What? Everyone couldn't help but be shocked. Their master actually wanted to take the human race's ancient road. With their master's cultivation base, there was no need for him to take the human race's ancient road. One should know that before Ji Yufei left, he was already an existence that could contend against a quasi-supreme. Now, no one could see through Ji Yufei's strength. Boom! At this moment, a loud noise came from outside. In the next moment, a cold saber chi arrived, ignoring the barrier between the void and the house. Zhao Xiu, this fella, Zhuge Liang was furious. He directly waved his hand and the protective formation of the hall immediately activated, blocking the saber chi. At this time, in the sky outside, Zhao Xiu's body emitted endless divine light. His entire body seemed to have become one with the peerless divine saber in his hand. Becoming one with the saber? Ji Yufei smiled. This Zhao Xiu was indeed amazing. One should know that the saber in his hand was a quasi-supreme Dao tool while he, Zhao Xiu, was only a great saint. If it was anyone else, their body and soul would have been destroyed by the peerless saber chi from the peerless divine saber. The sacred body of a great saint could not withstand the power of a quasi-supreme, but Zhao Xiu had indeed broken through the shackles. He was actually using the body of a great saint to attract the power of a quasi-supreme for his own use. Such a method was truly terrifying. Ridiculous, be careful that you don't explode. On top of the city wall, the iron-blood Daoist stared at the figure in the sky with a solemn expression. The other party had become one with the saber and could perform a quasi-supreme attack. Under such an attack, No one knew if the protective formation of Wanxiang City could withstand it. The Iron Blood Daoist hurriedly operated the protective formation with all his might. A layer of dazzling light barrier appeared in the sky above Wanxiang City, enveloping the entire city. On the layer of light barrier, there were countless Dao patterns interweaving. Ancient Dao diagrams attracted the power of heaven and earth, causing the power of the entire protective formation to increase rapidly. Break. At this moment, Zhao Xiu exhaled and slashed down at Wanxiang City with all his might. A violent and monstrous power exploded from his body, causing the surrounding void to be annihilated. This slash seemed to have become eternal between heaven and earth, as though the heavens had attacked. It displayed peerless power, as though nothing in the world could block this slash. The saber light descended from the sky and landed on the layer of light barrier formed by the power of the protective formation of Wanxiang City. In the next moment, the sound of cloth being torn could be heard. Then, a hole that was several feet long appeared on the protective divine light barrier of Wanxiang City. Zhao Xiu had poured in all his strength for this slash. If he still could not break through the protective formation of Wanxiang City, he could only leave with his tail between his legs. Ha ha, Zhao Xiu laughed loudly and charged towards the hole on the light barrier. He wanted to kill his way into Wanxiang City and flatten it. However, just as he reached the hole, a ball of divine light shot out from the top of the city wall and turned into 9 divine phoenixes, sealing the hole. Who dares to stop me? Zhao Xiu's battle intent surged as he shattered the void and tried to force his way into Wanxiang City. He slashed again and a terrifying saber Dao power exploded, causing a Dao tool that was surrounded by the 9 divine phoenixes to fly away. Kill. Seeing that Zhao Xiu could really barge into Wanxiang City, the Iron Blood Daoist was extremely shocked. Array, rise. The Iron Blood Daoist did not dare to delay and hurriedly executed his strongest trump card. Buzz. The void shook and Zhao Xiu's figure disappeared, leaving only a saber light in the world. Zhao Xiu charged straight into Wanxiang City. Then, he became one with his saber and slashed down at the city lord's residence. It was too late for the Iron Blood Daoist to stop him. Just as the saber light broke through the layers of protection and was about to land on the city lord's mansion, a hand suddenly reached out from the side and grabbed the saber light that was descending from the sky. What? Seeing this scene, the Iron Blood Daoist's eyeballs almost fell to the ground. That was a peerless divine saber, the peerless divine saber of the primordial era's Zhao family, a quasi-supreme Dao tool. Yet, it was caught by someone with his bare hands. At this moment, a figure appeared in the sky above the city lord's residence. Becoming one with the saber, that's all there is to it. The black-robed youth grabbed the saber light and said indifferently. This person was Ji Fei. To be precise, it was one of his doppelgangers. He possessed an immortal eternal martial body. Although he was severely injured when he crossed realms to return to the human world and his real body could not attack, he could only use his doppelgangers. Ji Fei had 2 doppelgangers. Back when he cultivated to the extreme supremacy realm, the cultivation and battle strength of these 2 doppelgangers were already close to the supremacy realm. The moment this doppelganger appeared, the entire world became unstable and the quasi-supreme aura spread out. Even a sage would not be able to withstand it. Let me go now. The saber light struggled in the hands of Ji Fei's doppelganger like a snake, trying to break free. Let you go. Ji Fei's doppelganger laughed. In the next moment, he exerted force with his right hand. With a clang, the saber light in his hand was actually crushed by him. Blood splattered and shattered flesh mixed with the shards of the peerless saber appeared in the void. The Iron Blood Daoist was dumbfounded. This scene was extremely shocking. His master had actually crushed the Zhao family's quasi-supreme Dao artifact, the peerless saber. Zhao Xiu, who was one with the saber, was unlucky enough to encounter Ji Fei. As a result, he ended up with his saber crushed and his death. Zhao Xiu could not even withstand a single move from his master and died just like that. Zhao Xiu, one of the 2 successors of the primordial antiquity Zhao family, was dead. Furthermore, he died in Wanxiang City. The entire eastern region was shocked when the news spread. Someone actually killed Zhao Xiu. That's the divine son of the Zhao family. Heavens have been pierced. Wanxiang City is definitely done for this time. HMPH, not necessarily. Do you know who the master of the Iron Blood Daoist is? Jiyu Fei? He's been missing for so long. Perhaps he's already dead in some corner. All the major forces in the eastern region were alarmed. Countless people in the cultivation world were discussing this matter. Zhao Xiu's death had completely ignited the eastern region's cultivation world. This was the beginning of chaos. However, Jiyu Fei did not care so much. He was not someone who could be bullied. Whoever dared to provoke him, he would take their life. Is the primordial antiquity Zhao family digging their own grave? Chapter 4206. In the human realm, the inheritances of the four ancient sovereigns were respectively the Zhao clan of the eastern domain, the Zhu clan of the southern domain, the Li clan of the western domain, and the Jiang clan of the northern domain. The Jiang family had Jiang Renhuang. Jiang Renhuang had intimidated the far north demon area with his own strength. Countless demons didn't dare to take even half a step forward. As for the eastern region's Zhao family's ancestral land, it was a place where dragons ascended. There was an ancient dragon nest that had once nurtured a true dragon of the 9 heavens. This kind of peerless treasure land was hard to find throughout the world. Only these cultivation clans that had been passed down for countless years and possessed incomparably deep foundations could possess such a treasured land. If it was anyone else, they would not be able to guard this treasured land at all. On this day, an angry roar came from the ancestral land of the Zhao family. The entire ancestral land shook. "Are you crazy?" An old man crawled out of a cave and started cursing at the top of his lungs. "Zhao Xiu is dead." An old voice came from the depths of the ancestral land. What? When the disheveled old man heard that, he was first shocked before he flew into a rage. "Zhao Xiu is dead." The disheveled old man almost went berserk. At this moment, a figure walked out from the depths of the Zhao clan's ancestral grounds. This person's white robes fluttered in the wind, his hair and eyebrows were all white. He walked through the air step by step, exuding a celestial air. "Zhao Yuan, how do you know that Zhao Xiu is dead?" The disheveled old man roared at that person. "This is his life token." The white-robed Zhao Yuan tossed the fragment to the disheveled old man. Roar. The disheveled old man caught the shards and lowered his head to take a look. The next moment, he roared into the skies as a terrifying energy wave spread out from his body, shaking the world. "Enough, step down." A dignified voice came from the deepest part of the Zhao family's ancestral ground. "Yes, old ancestor." The shocking aura on the two old men immediately retreated like the tide. Then, they hurriedly bowed in the direction of the voice. They were extremely respectful. The two old men looked at each other and carefully retreated. Why are the two ancestors so furious? He actually alarmed the first ancestor. Everyone in the Zhao family's ancestral land was alarmed. Even some of the older generation experts who had been in seclusion for hundreds of years came out. Soon, everyone knew what had happened. Zhao Xiu actually died in Wanxiang City. Everyone in the Zhao clan was shocked. One should know that Zhao Xiu was a great saint, one of the most outstanding figures in the younger generation of the Zhao clan. In the entire younger generation of the Zhao clan, only the goddess of the Zhao clan could be compared to him. Zhao Xiu's death was definitely a great loss to the Zhao family. The reason why the primordial Zhao family's inheritance could last for so long and was able to stand tall in the eastern domain was because every generation of the Zhao family had a peerless expert who led the Zhao family to contend against other forces. Of course, Zhao Xiu was dead, but the Zhao clan still had their goddess. However, the Zhao family's anger could only be extinguished with blood. Whose blood? It was naturally the Iron Blood Daoist, Zhuge Liang, and their subordinates. Zhao Tiangang was the current family head of the Zhao family of the remote antiquity. The previous family head had already fallen from power and was sent to a remote place to guard the mines. The Zhao family had many spirit crystal mines. It had to be said that this Zhao Tiangang really had some ability. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to pull down the previous generation's patriarch. For a big family like the Zhao family of the remote antiquity, the internal struggles were extremely intense. The Zhao family was divided into a few factions. For the position of the family head, these factions were constantly fighting against each other. Of course, with the Zhao family's ancestral ancestor overseeing the Zhao family, these factions would not be able to cause any trouble. As long as no one died, the Zhao family's ancestral ancestor would allow these factions to fight against each other. He could not be bothered with them. It did not matter much to him who the family head was. The two ancestral ancestors of the Zhao family immediately left the ancestral ground and headed straight for the Wanxiang city. Not long after the two ancestral ancestors of the Zhao family left the ancestral ground, a divine army rushed out of the ancestral ground. This divine army was wearing black armor and held battle spears. They formed a battle formation and charged towards the Wanxiang city like a black cloud. A powerful murderous aura spread from the battle formation of the divine army. Everywhere it passed, countless living beings were terrified to the extreme. That's the Black Dragon army of the Zhao family. What happened? Why did the Zhao family send out the Black Dragon army? Some of the older cultivators exclaimed when they saw the Zhao family's army flying across the sky. The Black Dragon army of the primordial Zhao family was the most elite army of the Zhao family. They had been through hundreds of battles and had once conquered a huge territory for the Zhao family. That direction. Is the Zhao family of the primordial Zhao family going to attack the Wanxiang city? 3 to 5 people gathered on a mountain peak. One of them raised his head and exclaimed as he looked into the sky. Wanxiang city? The Iron Blood Daoist is only a great sage. The Zhao family of the primordial Zhao family has a few heavenly venerables. Someone said. TSK, the Zhao family does not only have heavenly venerables, but they also have the mysterious ancestral ancestor. A cultivator of the older generation said. Ancestral ancestor? Who's that? The younger cultivators were naturally not as knowledgeable as the older cultivators. You're so ignorant. Haha. The cultivator of the older generation laughed. Please enlighten me, senior. The cultivators of the younger generation all wanted to know more about it. However, the cultivator of the older generation smiled without saying anything else. Although the Iron Blood Daoist is only a great sage, he has a huge backing. The cultivator of the older generation left after saying that and disappeared into the mountains. The backing of the Iron Blood Daoist. The cultivators of the younger generation were all shocked. What backing does the Iron Blood Daoist have? Someone was disdainful. The Iron Blood Daoist is only a great sage and isn't even a heavenly venerate. That's not normal for him to be able to defend Wanxiang city, a white-robed young man said indifferently. The other young cultivators fell silent. At that moment, the city lord's residence of Wanxiang city was filled with joy. The city lord, the Iron Blood Daoist, was holding a huge banquet to welcome Ji Yufei's return. Experts from various places gathered in Wanxiang city. They were the subordinates of the Iron Blood Daoist and were all experts with the cultivation of a sage king or even a sage emperor. 2 of them were even half-step great sages. Only sage realm experts with the cultivation of a sage king or above could oversee a region. Although Ji Yufei had left, the Iron Blood Daoist's days were not too difficult with Xiaoqing's protection. His subordinates were also filled with talents. However, after Little Qing left, his days were no longer easy. The Iron Blood Daoist initially had 18 sage kings, 9 sage emperors and 3 half-step great sages. However, when Little Qing went to the Heaven Realm and did not return for nearly 300 years, many of the Iron Blood Daoist's subordinates left. Only 11 of the 18 Saint Kings were left, and there were only 4 Saint Emperors and 2 half-step great saints. Even so, the Iron Blood Daoist's forces were still very strong. Apart from the primordial Zhao family and Dongfang family, the Iron Blood Daoist's forces were the strongest in the entire East region. Ha! Now that Master is back, the primordial Zhao family and Dongfang family will have to step aside. Chapter 4207. This time, Ji Yufei did not return for the Zhao family of the primordial clan or the Dongfang family. He only wanted to set foot on the human race's ancient road and find his woman, Ji Yuling. However, he must first understand the situation in the human realm before setting foot on the human race's ancient road. The entrance to the human race's ancient road was still in the hands of the Qin clan. Back then, old man Qin Huang had some friendship with him, but he was too embarrassed to attack the Qin clan. At this moment, in the backyard of the city lord's residence in Wanxiang City, many sages had gathered. Although they had already concealed their auras, it was still frightening. The weaker cultivators in the city hid far away, not daring to approach the city lord's residence. Master, could it be the legendary peerless savage, Ji Yufei? Lower your voice, who else could our boss's master be if not that savage? If that person really returns, then our bitter days will be over. In the backyard, the sages were discussing softly. They usually oversaw a region. They were either city lords or rulers of a region. It was rare for them to gather in recent years. If not for the Iron Blood Daoist's message to them, asking them to put down everything they were doing and rush back to Wanxiang City, it was unknown when they would be able to meet again. Is that person really that powerful? Someone said disapprovingly. Wujue, how dare you doubt our master? At this moment, a person walked in from outside. The person held a feather fan and looked elegant. It was Zhuge Liang. It's not that I doubt him, but our master should show us a few moves to broaden our horizons, Saint Wujue said. He was one of the 2 half-step great sages under the Iron Blood Daoist. That's right, only then will we be convinced. A sage at the side said. Tianxiao, what do you mean by this? Zhuge Liang was displeased. His master's strength was unquestionable in his eyes. Back then, Ji Yufei trampled the demon ancestor and killed the ruler of Zhu Di. How heroic was he? Actually, the sages under the Iron Blood Daoist had more or less heard of Ji Yufei's name. One should know that Ji Yufei's name shook the world back then. Who didn't know him? The other saints also looked towards Zhuge Liang. There was only one person sitting in the corner, drinking by himself. Whoever dares to question master can scram. At this moment, a loud shout came from outside. Then, the Iron Blood Daoist walked in with a gloomy expression. Boss, you, Saint Wujue was shocked to see the Iron Blood Daoist. Boss, Wujue's words make some sense. You must know that in the cultivation world, the strong are respected. A skinny monkey-like saint said. Hu Xiao, you're too impudent. The Iron Blood Daoist glared at the skinny saint and said while gritting his teeth. These fellows were really reckless, to actually dare to question his master. If his master was angered, these fellows would all be finished. Boss, the strong are respected. That's not bad. The other saints also spoke up. Only the strong could convince the masses. Moreover, these people were all arrogant saints. The saints in the backyard of the city lord's mansion were all saint kings and above. If he wanted them to be convinced, he would have to bring out something stronger than them. You're all saints in vain. The Iron Blood Daoist was furious. Do you want me to show you what I'm capable of? At this moment, Ji Yufei's voice came from behind the Iron Blood Daoist. Then, he walked out from behind the Iron Blood Daoist and looked at Wujue with a faint smile. Saint Wujue did not dare to look at Ji Yufei at all. When he saw Ji Yufei looking at him, he hurriedly lowered his head. That day in the city lord's mansion, Ji Yufei had killed Zhao Xiu, the great saint of the Zhao family. However, only the Iron Blood Daoist, Zhuge Liang, Saint Wujue, and 2 other saints had witnessed that scene. The saints present did not dare to say anything. The ones who wanted to cause trouble for Ji Yufei were the saints who had just returned from other places. That's right. If you want us to submit to you, you must be strong enough. The monk-alike Hu Xiao looked at Ji Yufei and said solemnly, Very well, the strong are respected. This is the unchanging truth of the universe. Ji Yufei looked at Saint Hu Xiao and suddenly smiled. Oh no. The Iron Blood Daoist's expression changed immediately. He hurriedly said to Ji Yufei, Boss, why do you have to lower yourself to his level? When Ji Yufei appeared, the saints who were sitting in a corner and drinking looked up at Ji Yufei before lowering their heads to drink again. The strong are respected. There's nothing wrong with this saying. Ji Yufei glanced at the Iron Blood Daoist and said. The Iron Blood Daoist did not know what to do when he heard this. How about this? I have a cauldron. If any of you can carry it, I'll recognize that person as my boss. How about that? Ji Yufei said after some thought. All right. Saint Wujue and Saint Hu Xiao exchanged glances, and then they retreated. Ji Yufei glanced at them and flipped his right hand. An ancient cauldron the size of a fist appeared in his hand. Then, he tossed it to the ground. The ancient cauldron grew to the size of a small mountain as soon as it was set up. The ancient cauldron exuded an ancient aura. It was obvious that it was an ancient artifact that had existed for countless years. However, apart from that, none of the saints present could see anything special about the ancient cauldron. Could it be, some of the saints present suddenly thought of something when they saw the ancient cauldron, and they became extremely excited. If this ancient cauldron was really the ancient cauldron of legend, then no one present could lift it. After all, the ancient cauldron of legend was a supreme Tao artifact. I'll do it. Someone refused to believe it and walked over with large strides. This person was tall and strong, and it was obvious that he was a strength-type fellow. This person grabbed the leg of the cauldron as soon as he arrived, and then he roared furiously and exerted his strength in an attempt to lift the ancient cauldron. However, the ancient cauldron did not move at all. It did not even budge, let alone be lifted. Roar. The extremely strong saint roared furiously and exerted his strength continuously. However, it was useless even after he exerted all his strength. His head was covered in sweat, and his face had turned from red to purple. No matter how much strength he exerted or how he used his divine ability, he could not move the huge cauldron. Divine light surged continuously from this saint's body, and countless Tao markings appeared on his arms. An extremely violent power erupted from his body. In the end, this saint was so exhausted that he collapsed to the ground and panted. His clothes were drenched in sweat. Chapter 4208. Apart from Zhuge Liang, the Iron-Blood Daoist had 11 sage kings, 4 sage emperors, and 2 half-great saints under his command. However, in the current human world, this kind of power was only considered decent. The Iron-Blood Daoist's power was not enough to contend against the clan of the ancients. He was even inferior to the Dongfang clan. If not for the fact that Ji Yufei had just returned, the Iron-Blood Daoist would have to cede many more cities to the Zhao and Dongfang clan. Now that Ji Yufei had returned, the Iron-Blood Daoist naturally did not need to cede any more territories. Not only that, he also wanted the Zhao and Dongfang clan to spit out the territories that they had previously occupied. Given his master Ji Yufei's personality, the Zhao and Dongfang clan would definitely be in big trouble. The Iron-Blood Daoist really could not wait to see how the Zhao and Dongfang clan would react when they learned that Ji Yufei had returned. Back then, the Zhao and Dongfang clan were terrified of Ji Yufei after being beaten up. Back then, Ji Yufei had forced the Zhao family of the clan of the remote antiquity to bow down to him. He had almost fought with the Dongfang family. If it were not for Jiang Renhuang, the Dongfang family would have been destroyed by Ji Yufei. However, at this moment, the atmosphere in the Wanxiang city lord's residence was somewhat stiff. The Iron-Blood Daoist's subordinates dared to question their master, Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei had made a bet with these saints that he would recognize whoever could lift his ancient cauldron as his boss. An ancient cauldron the size of a small mountain stood on the ground. A saint filled with power walked out and attempted to lift the ancient cauldron. However, the result was extremely shocking. Saint King Xiongyu, who was known for his strength, was unable to move the ancient cauldron even after using all his strength. Saint Emperor Xiongyu's strength was definitely one of the best amongst the saints present. If even he collapsed from exhaustion, who could lift the ancient cauldron? Chen Ph. Master's reputation was earned through fighting. How dare you guys cause trouble for no reason? Be careful, Master might kill all of you in a fit of anger. Zhuge Liang glanced at the crowd and said coldly. The saints' expressions changed when they heard that. They were all saints, how could they not have heard of Ji Yufei's reputation? However, they thought that it was just a rumor made up by others, and that Ji Yufei's battle prowess might not be much stronger than theirs. Who else wants to give it a try? Ji Yufei glanced at the crowd indifferently. Everyone was silent. If even Xiongyu could not lift this ancient cauldron, who else could? A bunch of trash, Aren't you going to greet your master? The Iron-blood Daoist roared at this group of people. Paying respects to master, the group of people quickly followed suit and knelt down respectfully. Humph. At least you're tactful. Zhu Galiang held the feather fan in his hand and flew gracefully, as if he was the emperor of the 9 heavens who did not eat the flames of the mortal world. At this point, the sages no longer doubted that this ancient cauldron was the legendary mountain and river cauldron. Who could lift an extreme Dao treasure like the mountain and river cauldron? Iron blood brat, come out and die. At this moment, a loud shout came from outside the city lord's mansion. Everyone was shocked when they heard that. Someone actually dared to speak to the Iron blood Daoist like that. Someone from the primordial region's Zhao family? When the Iron blood Daoist heard that voice, he was not anxious or nervous at all. With Ji Yufei around, who would he be afraid of? Rise. Ji Yufei said indifferently. The group of sages stood up hurriedly. Both Sage Wujue and Sage Hu Xiao were well behaved at this moment. Iron blood brat, what are you waiting for? Come out and die. The voice from outside rang out once more. Although the voice was incomparably old, it was clearly heard by everyone present. At this moment, 2 shocking auras surged in from outside Myriad Phenomenon City. The entire Myriad Phenomenon City went silent instantly as countless cultivators were extremely shocked. Previously, Scholar Zhao had attacked Myriad Phenomenon City and now, someone was here to cause trouble for the Iron blood Daoist. There was truly no end to this. Primordial Region's Zhao family, Ji Yufei muttered to himself indifferently. It seemed like the Primordial Region's Zhao family had already forgotten the pain of the past. Master, why don't we take this opportunity to annihilate the Primordial Region's Zhao family? Zhuge Liang said. If Ji Yufei annihilated the Primordial Region's Zhao family as soon as he returned, it would definitely shock the entire human world. Annihilate the Primordial Region's Zhao family? When the sages heard that, they were shocked once again. One must know that this was an earth-shattering matter. Very well, Iron blood brat. Since you're not coming out, then let the Myriad Phenomenon City be buried with you. The old voice sounded once more. At the next moment, boom, with a loud bang, the entire Myriad Phenomenon City shook. Violent energy waves spread across the heavens and earth. Someone had actually shaken the entire Myriad Phenomenon City. Damn, could it be that the saint of the Primordial Region's Zhao family is here? The Iron blood Daoist said with a frown. Let's go and take a look. As Ji Yufei spoke, he soared into the sky from the backyard of the city lord's residence and flew into the sky. Outside the Wanxiang city's great city barrier formation, a disheveled old man was swinging a huge hammer. He ruthlessly smashed the light barrier formed by the power of the great city barrier formation. Boom! With another loud bang, the city protection formation shook violently. Countless Dao patterns interweaved on the light barrier, summoning an incomparably powerful force to block the disheveled old man's attack. A ring of transparent ripples spread out in all directions from the point of impact of the huge hammer. The light barrier had suffered 2 attacks, and cracks had appeared on it. Quasi-supreme Dao weapon? Ji Yufei could not help but frown. The huge hammer in the disheveled old man's hands seemed to be even stronger than the peerless divine saber in Zhao Xiu's hands. At this moment, a divine light surged from the city lord's residence. Beams of divine light shot into the sky and arrived behind Ji Yufei. I was wondering who it was. So it's you 2 old fools. When the Iron blood Daoist saw the 2 invading powerhouses, his eyes flashed with a bright light. 2 saint venerable patriarchs of the Primordial Region's Zhao family are here. Why? Do you want to start a war? Waving his feather fan, Zhu Guliang walked out from behind Ji Yufei. You ants. If not for the fact that the family head forbade us from finding trouble with you, do you think that a mere Myriad Phenomenon City would still exist? The disheveled old man said in disdain. Me. You want to destroy me? Let's give it a try then. Zhu Guliang was not nervous at all. So what if they were Saint Venerables? Back then, their master was an existence that could fight against a quasi-supremacy. Little brat, you're courting death. The disheveled old man could not help but be enraged at the thought of Zhao Xiu dying in the hands of these people. He raised the heaven-quake hammer in his hands with all his might and smashed it down on the city protection formation. Boom! Catcher! The loud sound of impact was mixed with the sound of things shattering. The city protection formation of Myriad Phenomenon City was filled with cracks, as though it could shatter at any moment. The saints behind Gu Fei had extremely unsightly expressions on their faces when they witnessed this scene. If this crazy old man was allowed to kill his way into Myriad Phenomenon City, the consequences would be unpredictable. Ha ha! At that moment, the disheveled old man burst into laughter. Amidst his laughter, he raised the heaven-quake hammer in his hands and struck with all his might. Rumble! As the dull sound of thunder rang out, the city protection formation of Myriad Phenomenon City was shattered, turning into countless rays of divine light that dissipated into the void. Gu Fei could not help but frown when he saw that. Kill. Without hesitation, the disheveled old man swung the heaven-quake hammer in his hands towards Gu Fei and the others. The heaven-quake hammer expanded rapidly. By the time it reached the top of Gu Fei's head, it was already the size of a small mountain, causing the entire world to tremble. The other saints exclaimed and fled in all directions. Bam! With a smile, Gu Fei raised his right hand gently and slapped the heaven-quake hammer that was smashing down. In the next moment, the heaven-quake hammer flew out of the disheveled old man's hands and was sent flying by the recoil. What? The disheveled old man's shock was not to be underestimated. Who was this guy to dare to take on a quasi-paragon Dao weapon head-on? A quasi-paragon Dao weapon was not something that could be found in a handful. Some people had cultivated for countless years but had never seen a quasi-paragon Dao weapon with their own eyes. The moment the disheveled old man saw Gu Fei's appearance, he nearly peed his pants. Jiao Chao, you're really trash. You haven't captured Taoist Tai Shui and the others after so long? The other saint of the Jiao family was called Jiao Yuan. Both of them were the patriarchs of the primordial era's Jiao family. Their cultivation realms were extremely strong and no one dared to offend them. Jiao Yuan, why don't you do it? The disheveled old man said coldly. Lowering his head, he saw that his hands that were wielding the heaven-quake hammer were riddled with countless wounds that were oozing blood. At that moment, the disheveled old man was both shocked and furious. When Jiao Chao, who was flying over from afar, caught sight of Gu Fei, he stumbled and nearly fell from the sky. Gu Fei? How is that possible? Jiao Chao glared at the black-robed young man opposite him and his heart was in turmoil. It was no wonder that Taoist Tai Shui would kill Jiao Xiu. It was because Gu Fei had returned. Gu Fei, Jiao Chao was scared out of his wits. Me. Go and die yourselves. Gu Fei looked at the two holy venerables coldly. They were holy venerables. But so what? It wasn't like he had not killed them in the past. I'll fight it out with you. Jiao Chao roared and channeled the power within his body crazily. An extremely violent energy wave rippled out in all directions, destroying everything in its path. It was as though the entire world could no longer contain Jiao Chao's powerful divine body. Do you have the right? Gu Fei laughed and punched out. The two fists collided and the sound of bones cracking rang out as Jiao Chao staggered back with a tragic cry. However, there was no way Gu Fei would let Jiao Chao off. With a single step, he disappeared into the void. By the time he appeared again, he was above Jiao Chao's head. Bam! Chapter 4209. The arrival of two holy venerables from the Jiao clan shook the entire Wanxiang city. Countless cultivators in the city were terrified to the extreme. If not for the city-protecting array isolating the holy venerable's aura, those with weaker cultivations would have exploded long ago. The aura of a holy venerate was extremely powerful. Just a trace of it could suppress the void and make all living things bow down. This was a holy venerate. A high and mighty holy venerate could look down on the world. They could shatter stars with a flick of their fingers and swallow the sun and moon with their mouths. They were the strongest existences below the quasi-supremes. The Jiao clan had sent out two holy venerables at once. It was clear that the Jiao clan wanted to destroy Wanxiang city. Jiao Xiu's death had infuriated the entire Jiao clan. The Jiao clan, which Jiao Xiu belonged to, had lost their most outstanding successor who was fighting for the position of clan head. Zhao Xiu was also their relative. The disheveled old man, Zhao Chao, was actually Zhao Xiu's ancestor. Zhao Xiu was the most outstanding disciple in his lineage. Roar. At this moment, Zhao Chao let out an unwilling roar and fell towards a forest outside Wanxiang City like a meteor. Boom. There was a loud sound and dust soared into the sky. The entire forest was covered by the dust. A figure charged out from the dust. His entire body was covered in lightning. Every bolt of lightning emitted a horrifying aura of destruction. Every bolt of lightning was like an ancestral dragon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Hey! When Ji Yufei saw this scene, he could not help but feel surprised. This fellow cultivated the Thunder Dao cultivation technique. Furthermore, the power of lightning could take the form of a dragon. Could it be a cultivation technique of the Thunder Dragon race? The Thunder Dragon was an ancient divine beast, a type of the dragon race. The dragon had 9 sons, each of them different. Hence, the dragon race was divided into several major categories. Legend had it that the Thunder Dragon was a living creature born from chaotic lightning. It was extremely powerful and could hunt ferocious beasts the moment it was born. It consumed ferocious beasts as food. Kill. Zhao Chao's hair was disheveled and his body was covered in blood. He roared furiously as he charged at Ji Yufei. Boom. Countless lightning balls rushed out from Zhao Chao's body and bombarded towards Ji Yufei. Every inch of the void was filled with a horrifying aura of destruction. This was even more terrifying than divine punishment. Everywhere the lightning balls passed, the void would shatter and destroy everything. However, the next scene left everyone dumbfounded. Ji Yufei opened his mouth and inhaled. All the destructive lightning balls in the sky flew into his mouth and were swallowed cleanly. Even the traces of lightning in the air were swallowed by him. How is this possible? Everyone found it hard to believe. Zhao Chao was the primordial Zhao clan's holy venerate patriarch. How could Ji Yufei resolve the full-powered attack of this patriarch so easily? Swallowing lightning in one's mouth was too crazy. Everyone stared at Ji Yufei in a daze. A layer of lightning appeared on the surface of his body, but this layer of lightning quickly disappeared into his body. When Zhao Chao saw this scene, his eyeballs nearly fell out of their sockets. No one knew the might of his move better than him. Even a holy venerate with a cultivation similar to his could not swallow his lightning ball in one gulp. Not bad. Ji Yufei let out a burp. What? Zhao Chao was both shocked and angry. He was the lightning seigneur of the primordial Zhao clan. In fact, in the Eastern Domain, the experts of the older generation all called this lightning seigneur Madman Zhao behind his back. This fellow was usually crazy, and when he went berserk, even Zhao Tiangang, the current head of the Zhao family, had to give way. Roar. Madman Zhao roared at the sky. He was at his peak. Although he knew that his opponent was Ji Yufei, it was impossible for him to kill himself. So what if it was Ji Yufei? He was determined to fight him. Violent thunder power erupted from his body. Endless lightning bloomed on his body, instantly turning into a sea of thunder and lightning. Ji Yufei smiled and threw a punch. It seemed like an ordinary punch, but it had the power to turn something rotten into something magical. The moment his fist punched out, all the lightning around Madman Zhao disappeared. The next moment, a dull sound of impact rang out from Madman Zhao's body. The clothes on Madman Zhao's back were instantly torn to shreds, and a fist mark protruded from his back. This was a fist technique that Ji Yufei had created by combining the strengths of various clans. With Ji Yufei's current cultivation, it was naturally difficult for him to bring out the true power of this fist technique. However, Ji Yufei's punch wasn't something that just anyone could block. Damn it, I'm not willing. Madman Zhao's figure paused. In the next moment, countless cracks appeared on his body. Then, his entire body collapsed. Even his primordial spirit shattered into specks of primordial spirit light that dissipated into the void. A heavenly sovereign was killed just like that by a seemingly casual punch from Ji Yufei. The other heavenly sovereign of the Zhao clan, Zhao Yuan, was stunned by this scene. This Ji Yufei was indeed worthy of his reputation. He killed a heavenly sovereign with a single punch. That was a heavenly sovereign. Heavenly sovereigns were existences that could do whatever they wanted in the entire mortal realm. One should know that there were not many quasi-sovereigns in the mortal realm. Zhao Yuan turned around and fled. However, Ji Yufei took a step forward and caught up to Zhao Yuan in an instant. Then, he threw a punch as well. Without any suspense, Zhao Yuan let out a blood-curdling scream and was blasted into a bloody mist by Ji Yufei's punch. The mist dissipated into the void, and both his body and soul were destroyed. At this moment, a black cloud appeared on the horizon. The black cloud flew towards the Wanxiang city and soon arrived near the city. There were actually countless silhouettes on the black cloud. On the black cloud, there were flags fluttering in the wind and wild beasts roaring. The leader of the group was a heavenly general wearing black metal armor. He held a battle spear in his hand and rode on a flood dragon. This heavenly general was extremely powerful. The murderous aura on his body was shocking. He was an existence that entered the Dao through killing. That's the Black Dragon army of the Zhao clan. Someone exclaimed. I didn't expect the Zhao clan to send out the Black Dragon army. The Iron Blood Daoist said in surprise. Looks like the Zhao clan is determined to destroy us. Zhuge Liang's expression was extremely grim. The Black Dragon army of the primordial Zhao clan was the most elite army of the primordial Zhao clan. They had once fought bloody battles and conquered a huge territory for the Zhao clan. Iron Blood Daoist, come out and face your death. The heavenly general roared furiously and his voice spread far and wide. What can you do to me if I come out? Iron Blood Daoist said as he rushed over to the black cloud. Kill. The heavenly general waved his hand and countless soldiers dispersed, forming a killing formation. The moment the killing formation was set up, the weather changed and the sun and moon dimmed. The terrifying murderous aura caused everyone to feel extreme fear. Kill. 100,000 Black Dragon soldiers roared at the same time. Murderous aura filled the sky as an extremely powerful force gathered rapidly. In the next moment, the Iron Blood Daoist realized that his surroundings had turned pitch black, as though he had entered a world without any light. Clang. As if countless weapons had been unsheathed, countless weapons appeared in the dark void around him. Sabers, spears, swords, and halberds all emitted terrifying waves of energy. Then, the countless weapons flew towards the Iron Blood Daoist in an overwhelming manner. The Iron Blood Daoist was shocked. He used the Phoenix's tribulation without hesitation. With a Phoenix's cry, a godly Phoenix charged out from his body and immediately protected him. The countless weapons that were slashing at him instantly turned into nothingness as soon as they came into contact with the divine fire that spread from the godly Phoenix's body. Boom! In the next moment, an endless amount of divine fire exploded and instantly devoured the Iron Blood Daoist. Everyone was shocked at the sight of this. A cold snicker was heard from the sea of fire. Then, a figure broke through the layers of divine fire and charged out. The Iron Blood Daoist seemed to have turned into a phoenix as he charged towards the general. However, in the next moment, the general disappeared, and all the Iron Blood Taoist could see was darkness all around him. An illusion formation? The Iron Blood Daoist was shocked. Watch out! At that moment, Ji Yufei's voice was heard. Then, the Iron Blood Daoist felt a sharp pain in his back. A battle spear had pierced through his body and pinned him in the void. You're asking for death. Ji Yufei's voice was heard again. In the next moment, the Iron Blood Daoist fell from the sky and his surroundings suddenly lit up. When the Iron Blood Daoist looked around, he was shocked to see corpses all around him and broken weapons scattered everywhere. The entire place looked like a blood-colored hell. I'm not dead yet. The Iron Blood Daoist heard Ji Yufei's voice. The Iron Blood Daoist hurriedly looked in the direction of the voice and saw Ji Yufei standing majestically on a dragon nearby, looking at him. He had only been stabbed by a spear. The injury to his sacred body was nothing serious. Thank you for saving me, Master. The Iron Blood Daoist hurriedly said. It turned out that when the Iron Blood Daoist was trapped by the killing formation, Ji Yufei had made a move. With a thunderous strike, he had directly broken the killing formation. Even the general had been killed with a single punch. With a single stomp, he had killed the general's mount, the old flood dragon. The Zhao family of the ancients had been completely annihilated. The Black Dragon army of 100,000 had been destroyed. When the news reached the ancestral land of the Zhao family, the entire family was shocked. However, compared to the annihilation of the Black Dragon army, another piece of news shocked the entire Zhao family of the ancients even more. Ji Fei is back. How is that possible? Zhao Tiangang, the head of the Zhao family, had an extremely ugly expression. That Ji Fei dared to annihilate the Black Dragon army. The Zhao family will not rest until he is dead. In the ancestral land of the Zhao family, a young man in embroidered clothes standing next to Zhao Tiangang roared angrily in the main hall of the ancestral palace. Bastard! Zhao Tiangang's expression changed drastically when he heard that. He slapped the young man in embroidered clothes away, knocking out half of his teeth. The others in the main hall were also shocked. Father! Why did you hit me? The young man felt extremely wronged. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I will kill you. Zhao Tiangang stared at the young man and roared angrily. The young man shrank his neck and did not dare to speak again. Ji Fei is back. Chapter 42:10. Ji Fei had returned. The news swept across the entire human world like a storm. Countless people and forces were alarmed, especially the demons. After learning of Ji Fei's return, they stopped all attacks on Wanxiang City. Dongfang Juanxiong, the envoy of the Dongfang family, died in Wanxiang City. The entire Dongfang family was furious and their army was already on the way. However, after learning of Ji Fei's return, the old ancestor of the Dongfang family who was leading the army was so scared that he peed his pants and hurried back with the army. Ji Fei was the fiercest person in the human world. Who would dare to provoke him? No wonder Zhao Jianfeng of the Zhao family and Dongfang Juanxiong of the Dongfang family died in Wanxiang City. Based on the Iron Blood Daoist's character, he would definitely not dare to offend two major forces at the same time. Only Ji Fei had no scruples. In the human world, there was no one that Ji Fei did not dare to touch. As long as he was offended, he would even dare to kill the demon ancestor. Ji Fei's reputation wasn't just for show, he had killed his way through. When the news of Ji Fei defeating the 100,000 Black Dragon army of the Zhao family of the Primordial spread, the world was even more shocked. Who else could it be other than Ji Fei's style of doing things? Meanwhile, Zhao Tiangang, the head of the Zhao family, felt his heart bleeding. Those were the most elite soldiers of the Zhao family of the Primordial. Every soldier had the cultivation of an immortal or above. The commander of the Black Dragon army was a great sage. A Black Dragon army made up of 100,000 immortals was definitely a big move. Only the primordial forces could have such a move. Other forces might not even have a few thousand immortal-level soldiers. The Iron Blood Daoist had been running Wanxiang City for many years. The territory under his rule was the largest in the East region. Even though the Zhao family of the Primordial and the Dongfang family had been encroaching on it in recent years, his territory was still much larger than the Zhao family. However, so what if he ruled the endless territory? The Iron Blood Daoist could not build an army of 100,000 immortals. That was the foundation that had been passed down for countless years. It was not something that a new force could compare with. The foundation of the primordial Zhao clan was unimaginable to outsiders. Ji Fei had returned and destroyed the Black Dragon army of the Zhao family of the primordial region. The Zhao family of the primordial region didn't even dare to fart. However, although Ji Fei had made a strong comeback, he was very clear about his own strength. If he encountered an opponent above the sage level, he would use his doppelganger to fight. Actually, it wasn't Ji Fei's real body that had annihilated the Zhao family of the ancients' 100,000-strong Black Dragon army, but his clone. With his current cultivation level, he could only compete with sages. He needed to improve his cultivation as soon as possible. Otherwise, he would be in big trouble. If a true quasi-supreme being were to make a move, even his two clones wouldn't be able to withstand it. After all, clones were clones, so their cultivation and battle prowess were naturally inferior to the main body of the same realm. What Jiu Fei needed was his own strength. Using his clone to fight was only a temporary measure. Because of Jiu Fei's return, the originally turbulent eastern region actually calmed down. All the forces were intimidated. This ruthless person was an existence that even dared to flatten the eastern region's Devil's Den. The eastern region's Devil's Den was once one of the strongest forces in the eastern region. Even the Dongfang clan and the Zhao family of the primordial region couldn't shake it. However, Jiu Fei had flattened the Devil's Den and killed the demon ancestor. Now that Jiu Fei had returned, who would dare to act rashly? Very quickly, someone discovered that the Zhao clan and Dongfang clan's territories in Wanxiang City, which they had annexed over the years, were quietly changing. The Dongfang clan and Zhao clan's people had all retreated in a single night. That's not enough. Not only will you spit out everything you ate from me, I will also collect interest. Jiu Fei said such words. He couldn't let the Zhao and Dongfang clan of the primordial region off so easily. This time, he didn't mind starting a war because these fellows were really asking for a beating. If he didn't beat these fellows up and make them feel pain and fear, these fellows would still play dirty tricks on him in the future. When the Iron Blood Daoist passed on Jiu Fei's words to the Zhao and Dongfang clan of the primordial region, the two great cultivation clans were incomparably furious. Some people even threatened to fight Jiu Fei to the death. However, these voices were quickly suppressed by the two clans themselves. Those who said such words were either imprisoned by the two great forces or exiled to remote areas, leaving them to fend for themselves. He's actually back. In the depths of the Dongfang clan's ancestral grounds, a voice came from a cave that sucked in and out chaotic qi. Outside the cave, there were two old men guarding it. These two old men were the patriarchs of the Dongfang clan. No matter what request he makes, we must fulfill it. Such a voice came from the cave. Yes, the two patriarchs outside nodded in response. At the same time, in the ancestral grounds of the Zhao family of the primordial region, the Zhao family's patriarch, Zhao Tiangang, had no choice but to bow his head. Not only did they hand over the territory they had originally annexed, but they also ceded 36 cities to Jiu Fei as compensation. 36 cities, that was an area with a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Zhao Tiangang's heart was bleeding. This was really going for wool and coming home shorn. No one could have imagined that Jiu Fei would come back. The Dongfang clan also paid a corresponding price, and the demons were as if they were facing a great enemy. After the demon's den was destroyed, the eastern domain was still occupied by demons. It was a demon valley, called the Heavenly Demon Valley. There was a heavenly demon in it. It was a holy venerable level heavenly demon, pitilessly powerful. Unless a quasi-supreme came out, no one could do anything to this heavenly demon. Now that Jiu Fei had returned, after the heavenly demon in the Heavenly Demon Valley got the news, he directly contacted the extreme North Demon region, wanting to invite the demon ancestor of the extreme North Demon region to come and deal with Jiu Fei. However, Jiang Renhuang was in charge of the northern domain, and in the extreme North Demon region, there was a peerless ruthless person guarding the largest demon's den, making it difficult for the demon ancestor to leave the extreme North Demon region. Although the demon ancestor was not invited, there was an extremely powerful great demon coming. On this day, a huge demonic light rose from the Heavenly Demon Valley, breaking the void between heaven and earth. Countless demonic shadows appeared in the demonic light, descended from the sky along with the demonic light, and fell into the Heavenly Demon Valley. That is, outside the Heavenly Demon Valley, some cultivators were alarmed. When they saw the scene in the sky, they were inexplicably shocked. The Heavenly Demon Valley is unusual. The news quickly spread, and all the major forces in the Eastern Domain were alarmed. Ever since Jiu Fei destroyed the East Demon Lair, the Eastern Domain was still plagued by demons, especially the heavenly demons in the Heavenly Demon Valley, who had gathered a group of demons to fight against the major forces. The Zhao family and the Dongfang family naturally did not want to fight with the Heavenly Demon Valley, which would weaken their own strength. Moreover, the Heavenly Demon Valley was against the Wanxiang City, and this was something that everyone knew. The biggest reason why the Zhao family and the Dongfang family did not destroy the Heavenly Demon Valley was that they wanted to use the Heavenly Demon Valley to destroy the Iron Blood Taoist. However, The Iron Blood Taoist was not easy to bully. Every time the demons attacked, they were repelled by him. Destroy the heavenly demon valley, and then be on your way. Chapter 42:11. A golden condor suddenly appeared in the sky above Wanxiang City. The golden condor spread its wings and covered the entire sky. There was a person standing on the golden condor. It was a lady in purple. Countless cultivators in the city were astonished. One should know that Jiyu Fei had returned. Who would dare to be so arrogant and charge into Wanxiang City on a golden condor? Jiyu Fei suddenly looked up at the sky under a big tree in the backyard of the city lord's mansion in Wanxiang City. At this moment, the purple-clothed woman standing on the golden condor seemed to have also sensed Jiyu Fei's presence. She directly flew towards the city lord mansion and landed there. No one stopped her. Neither the Iron Blood Daoist nor Zhuge Liang appeared. Whoosh! The golden condor carried the lady in purple and landed in the backyard of the city lord's mansion. The lady in purple jumped down from the condor's back and landed in front of Jiyu Fei. The princess of the Qin clan? Jiyu Fei immediately saw through the lady in purple. One should know that one's bloodline couldn't lie. The aura exuded by the lady in purple was different from the others. This aura was comparable to the old tortoises. The bloodline of an absolute expert would naturally have the unique mark of an absolute expert. The old tortoise's body had the Tai Huang's mark. The emperor of the Qin clan was in existence on the same level as the Tai Huang. He could compete with supremes and ultimate emperor realm experts. Qin Yao? There was only one princess of the Qin clan. I didn't expect brother Jiyu to know me too. Qin Yao was very happy. At this moment, the golden condor in the sky shrunk rapidly and landed on her shoulder. The princess of the Qin clan. It's impossible for me not to know you, Jiyu Fei said indifferently. I didn't know that the princess would come. Please excuse me for not going out to welcome you. At this moment, a person walked in from outside. This person was Zhuge Liang. Why is the princess here? Zhuge Liang continued. Brother Jiyu, aren't you going to embark on the human race's ancient road? Qin Yao glanced at Zhuge Liang and asked. How did you know? Jiyu Fei frowned. Other than Zhuge Liang, Iron Blood Daoist, and the others, no one else knew the purpose of his return to the human world. Could it be that the news was leaked so quickly? Qin Yao smiled and extended her right hand. A ball of fire immediately appeared in her palm. Within the fire, a young girl knelt on one knee. Her body was stained with blood. In front of the young girl was a huge figure. When Jiyu Fei saw this, he was immediately moved. The young girl that appeared in the flames was Jiyu Ling. From the looks of it, she was fighting with some kind of powerful creature, and the situation was not optimistic. When Zhu Guliang saw the figure in the flames, he was immediately shocked. That was young Master Jiyu Ling. Had young Master Jiyu Ling met with danger? How did you get this image? Jiyu Fei's voice turned cold. This is a piece of signal fire. I accidentally intercepted it. Qin Yao withdrew her right hand, and the flames on her hand disappeared. When did this happen? Jiyu Fei's expression became even colder. 3 days ago. Qin Yao didn't waste any time. 3 days ago, Jiyu Fei muttered to himself. The message was sent 3 days ago. 3 days had passed. What happened to Ling Er? What he could be sure of now was that Ling Er was still alive and not dead. Jiyu Fei had already prepared a backup plan before Jiyu Ling and the others stepped onto the human race's ancient road. If Jiyu Ling and the others had fallen, he would know immediately. Zhu Guliang, go and prepare immediately. I want to flatten the Heaven Devil Valley. Jiyu Fei didn't want to wait any longer. Yes, Master. Zhu Guliang hurriedly accepted the order and left. You want to destroy the Heaven Devil Valley? Qin Yao couldn't help but be shocked when she heard this. The Heaven Devil Valley was not simple. It had the support of the extreme North Devil region, and even the primordial Zhao clan and the Dongfang family were very wary of it. Is there a problem? Jiyu Fei looked at Qin Yao and said indifferently. There's no problem. Qin Yao said. Jiyu Fei wanted to flatten the Heaven Devil Valley. This was a big matter. She had long heard that the East Region Devil Lair was destroyed by Gu Fei. Even the sky-ruined Forbidden Ground was destroyed by Gu Fei. This time, he had just returned and he wanted to start with the Heaven Devil Valley. If this news spread, the whole world would be shocked. Do you know where Ling is? Gu Fei probed. I don't know, but I know who the guy fighting with your daughter is. Qin Yarrow said after thinking for a while. Oh, who is it? Gu Fei asked. Someone actually dared to attack his daughter. He deserved to die. Primordial ancestral star, celestial race. Qin Yarrow said directly. Primordial ancestral star? Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked when he heard this. Ling actually successfully went to the primordial ancestral star. That was one of the 5 great ancestral stars of the human realm. This was just the soaring dragon ancestral star. Among the 5 great ancestral stars, the most mysterious one was the primordial ancestral star. Celestial race. I hope Ling is fine. Otherwise, this race doesn't need to exist anymore. As Gu Fei said this, a cold murderous aura spread out from his body. Qin Yarrow felt the murderous aura from Gu Fei and couldn't help but be shocked. She seemed to see a horrifying hell from Gu Fei. First, I will destroy the Heaven Devil Valley, then I will step on the ancient road of the human race. Gu Fei stood up and took a step forward. In an instant, he disappeared into the void. Let's go and watch the show, Qin Yarrow said as she flew up. The golden eagle on her shoulder soared into the sky and instantly grew bigger. A purple figure directly landed on the golden eagle's back. Swoosh! The golden eagle flapped its wings and turned into a ray of golden light as it disappeared into the distance. Meanwhile, the entire Myriad City started moving. Countless soldiers charged out and gathered at the square in front of the city governor's estate. Numerous powerful figures charged out from the city governor's estate as well. Today, Master will lead us to annihilate Heaven Devil Valley. Do all of you dare to fight Heaven Devil Valley? The Iron Blood Daoist's voice entered the ears of every soldier present and spread throughout the entire city. Fight! 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 Countless soldiers raised their arms and roared furiously, and their voices spread far and wide. Every single soldier's blood was boiling. They'd been too aggrieved all these years. Today, it was finally time for them to vent their frustrations. Then let's fight. The Iron Blood Daoist roared furiously. The saints behind him were extremely excited as well. With Master's help, wouldn't annihilating Heaven Devil Valley be a piece of cake? All those years ago, the Eastern Devil's Den was countless times stronger than the current Heaven Devil Valley. However, they didn't know that Gu Fei wasn't the same Gu Fei from all those years ago. However, annihilating Heaven Devil Valley wasn't a problem. As the army of Myriad City set out, Gu Fei had already arrived at a mountain outside Heaven Devil Valley. Chapter 42:12. The enmity between Gu Fei and the demons could be traced back to when he first started his career. Back then, the demonic lord of 6 paths attacked Taishen Mountain. The scene of demonic aura blotting out the sky, as if doomsday had arrived, was still fresh in his memory. The demonic lord of 6 paths was probably already dead. Since then, he and the demons became mortal enemies. In particular, the demons among the demons did not hesitate to collect the souls of humans in order to cultivate their demonic arts. They did many things that angered the heavens and the people. The demons often massacred cities and destroyed countries, causing blood to flow like rivers. It was precisely because of this that the demons became the enemies of the world. At this moment, Gu Fei was standing on a mountain peak outside Sky Demon Valley. He looked toward the valley and saw that the demonic aura in front of him was surging violently. He could vaguely see a demonic figure within the demonic aura. Whoosh! At this moment, a golden divine light rushed over from the distance. Within the golden light was a divine bird, and on the back of the divine bird stood a purple-robed woman. It was the golden divine bird, and the purple-robed woman on the back of the golden divine bird was none other than Princess Qin Yao. Since Gu Fei wanted to destroy Sky Demon Valley, she naturally would not miss the opportunity. It should be noted that this would definitely be an earth-shattering battle. Sky Demon Valley was not a place to be trifled with. It was backed by a lineage of the demons of the far north demon region. Moreover, the Valley Master of Sky Demon Valley was a holy venerate level demon. In the current world, unless a quasi-supreme showed up, a holy venerate would be invincible. Of course, quasi-supreme would not usually make a move, but under special circumstances, they would still make a move. Once a quasi-supreme made a move, it would definitely be earth-shattering. Just as Ji Fei arrived at the outskirts of Sky Demon Valley, the Iron-Blood Taoist in Wanxiang City finally managed to gather 50,000 soldiers after a Herculean effort. Let's go. With the Iron-Blood Taoist's order, the 50,000 soldiers rose into the sky and floated into the distance like a black cloud. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the horizon. The terrifying murderous aura also dissipated into the void. Everyone in Wanxiang City was indescribably shocked. Who was the city lord going to find trouble with? That was 50,000 soldiers. Wanxiang City only had 30,000 soldiers, while the other 20,000 were transferred from other cities. This time, the myriad phenomenon city turned out in full strength. They were determined to exterminate the heavenly Devil Valley. Demon bastards, come out and die. Ji Fei roared towards the heavenly Devil Valley. Rumble, the entire world was shaking, and a large portion of the demonic clouds in front of them were dispersed. Who are you? Right at this moment, a furious roar resounded from within the gorge, and then a mighty old man with white hair and white brows approached them. If they did not know that these people were demons, even the Lord would not be able to see through them. The person who will kill you. Ji Fei did not waste any time and directly punched out as he spoke. Roar. The old man roared and spat out a bolt of lightning towards Ji Fei. Boom. Ji Fei's fist collided with the other party's lightning, and a terrifying destructive storm erupted in all directions. The demonic aura that enveloped the heavenly Devil Valley was dispersed, and the old man was sent flying. What? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. The old man was one of the top 3 experts in the heavenly Devil Valley, and yet he was defeated by Ji Fei with a single punch. How was this possible? Swoosh. Ji Fei chased after the old man like a shadow and gave him another kick. With a dull sound, the old man screamed in pain. Like a meteorite, he fell from the sky and smashed into the mountain ridge. A cloud of dust rushed out from where the old man was. Can't even withstand a single blow. As Ji Fei spoke, he took a step forward and arrived in the sky above the heavenly Devil Valley. Break. Ji Fei let out a furious roar as he punched down with both fists. Boom. With a loud bang, the entire Sky Devil Valley shook. Terrifying and monstrous energy ripples spread in all directions, and countless cracks appeared in the void. This was actually Ji Fei's doppelganger attacking. His original body had long entered the inner world. A huge light shield enveloped the entire valley. This was the Guardian formation of the heavenly Devil Valley being activated and operating. Again, Ji Fei's doppelganger was extremely powerful, and he punched again. The powerful force shook the Guardian formation of the heavenly Devil Valley. At this time, countless soldiers began to set up the formation, and violent and powerful forces quickly gathered. Buzz. The void shook, and the endless power of space was vast and mighty. Attack. The general of the heavenly Devil Valley roared and pointed at Ji Fei. Boom. 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 Rays of demonic light rushed out from the valley, piercing towards Ji Fei at an extremely fast speed. However, Ji Fei just opened his mouth and inhaled, and the endless demonic light was swallowed by him. This guy, the experts of the demons in the heavenly Devil Valley were really scared when they saw this scene. The leading general of the heavenly Devil Valley was called Blood Wolf Demon Lord, who was also the Valley Master of the heavenly Devil Valley. He was a holy venerate level demon lord. Who is that? Is he Ji Fei? Blood Wolf Demon Lord stared at the figure in the sky and said coldly. Seeing Ji Fei's momentum, the experts of the demons in the heavenly Devil Valley were extremely shocked. So what if Ji Fei comes personally? At this time, a tall middle-aged man wearing a dark golden demonic armor stood up. He had a stern aura, and there was a hideous scar on his face that extended from his forehead to his chin. His eyes were fierce and vicious. Hehe, Heavenly Bear Demon Lord is right. The disciples of the demons beside the middle-aged man quickly said with a fawning look on their faces. Blood Wolf Demon Lord's blood-devouring demonic art had been cultivated to the pinnacle. As long as there was a drop of blood, he would not die. It was said that he had an immortal body. Heavenly Bear Demon Lord's cultivation was second only to Blood Wolf Demon Lord, and he was the second most powerful person in the Heavenly Devil Valley. At this time, a dazzling divine light suddenly rushed out from Ji Yufei's clone. In the next moment, he broke through the protective formation of the Heavenly Devil Valley and rushed in. Boom! Ji Yufei's doppelganger descended from the sky, crushing the ground and creating a huge crater with every step. He walked out of the pit step by step. Haha, I thought it was some big shot. So it's just a little kid. Little guy, are you here to die? Blood Wolf Demon Lord had never seen Ji Yufei before, and he immediately laughed out loud with a disdainful look. Ji Yufei didn't say a word. With a push of his feet, he dashed towards the Blood Dragon Demon Venerate, leaving a trail of dust behind him. The surrounding spectators were shocked to the extreme when they saw this. This guy, even Blood Wolf Demon Lord's expression changed at this time. He was extremely solemn. In the next moment, he crazily circulated the blood-devouring demonic art, and a faint layer of bloodlight appeared on his body. He took a deep breath, and his entire body grew bigger. Every muscle on his body was vibrating, releasing a strong blood-devouring demonic force. At this time, Ji Yufei's clone had already rushed in front of Blood Wolf Demon Lord. Roar! Blood Dragon Demon Lord roared and attacked with all his might. He gathered all the strength in his body and threw a punch. Bam! With a muffled sound, Ji Yufei's clone collided with Blood Wolf Demon Lord's fist. In the next moment, Blood Wolf Demon Lord's entire arm exploded, and he was sent flying thousands of feet away, rolling on the ground. How is this possible? Blood Wolf Demon Lord supported his upper body and stared in disbelief at the black-robed young man who was walking towards him step by step. At this time, the soldiers under Blood Wolf Demon Lord were all dumbfounded by this scene. The Blood Wolf Demonic Venerate was a great perfection holy venerate. He was exceptionally strong. However, Ji Yufei's clone shattered the Blood Wolf Demonic Venerate's right arm with one punch, severely injuring this demonic venerate. At this time, Ji Yufei's clone arrived in front of Blood Wolf Demon Lord and looked down at him indifferently. Blood Wolf Demon Lord was terrified to the extreme as though he had seen a ghost. At this time, Heavenly Bear Demon Lord wanted to take action, but Ji Yufei's technique was simply too shocking. This made Heavenly Bear Demon Lord hesitate. Heavenly Demon Valley? It's just SOSO. Ji Yufei's clone shook his head. Don't get too full of yourself. My big brother will definitely avenge me. Blood Wolf Demon Lord glared at Ji Yufei's clone and gritted his teeth. You mean the one in the extreme North Demon region? Once this is over, I'll make a trip to the extreme North Demon region, Ji Yufei's clone said indifferently. What? Blood Wolf Demon Lord was shocked. In his agitation, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Ji Yufei's clone did not waste any more words with Blood Wolf Demon Lord. He stomped on Blood Wolf Demon Lord's head, causing it to explode. In the end, Ji Yufei set Blood Wolf Demon Lord's corpse on fire and burned it to ashes. It was only then that Heavenly Bear Demon Lord and the soldiers of Heavenly Demon Valley regained their senses. Set up the battle formation and kill this guy. Although Blood Wolf Demon Lord was dead, he still wanted to fight. After all, whether he fought or not, Ji Yufei would not let them off. The soldiers of Heavenly Demon Valley did not retreat in fear. Kill. Without hesitation, Ji Yufei's clone stomped on the ground. Like an ancient war elephant, he charged towards the battle formation formed by the soldiers of Heavenly Demon Valley. Release the arrows. A demon general ordered immediately. In the next moment, a series of air-piercing sounds were heard. Black demon arrows streaked across the sky, shooting towards Ji Yufei's clone. Ji Yufei's doppelganger sneered and waved his hands. The countless arrows that were shot at him were immediately knocked away by him. They couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes. Some of the arrows were bounced back, injuring and killing more than a dozen demon soldiers. Spears, shields. Seeing that they could not stop Ji Yufei's clone, Another demon general roared and changed the formation. In the next moment, dozens of pitch-black shields were erected by the soldiers of Heavenly Demon Valley, forming a shield formation in front of them. When Jiyu Fei's clone arrived, dozens of battle spears suddenly pierced towards Jiyu Fei's clone through the gaps left by the shields. However, Jiyu Fei's clone completely ignored the sharpness of the battle spears and rammed head-on into them. Boom! With a loud bang, dozens of shields were smashed into pieces. The soldiers of Heavenly Demon Valley who were holding the shields were sent flying, screaming in pain. The sharp battle spears did not even leave a mark on Jiyu Fei's clone. Chapter 42:13. Using doppelgangers to fight was the safest method. Jiyu Fei's main body only needed to watch from the inner world through the mystic light technique. At that moment, Jiyu Fei was lying on a chair in a valley in the inner world, enjoying the legendary peach of immortality as he looked at the mystic light mirror opposite him. In the mystic light mirror, his doppelganger charged straight into Sky Devil Valley. The 100,000 demon soldiers could not stop the black-robed youth. The black-robed youth rampaged through the battle formation formed by the 100,000 demon soldiers. Everywhere he passed, countless demon soldiers were turned into bloody mist, their bodies and souls destroyed. The power of Jiyu Fei's avatar spread out. Other than the demon soldiers that were turned into bloody mist, there were also countless demon soldiers that were sent flying. Those demon soldiers that were sent flying were already dead in the air. What Sky Devil Valley? It's just SOSO. Jiyu Fei's doppelganger said disdainfully. He pulled his hands in front of him, and a crescent-shaped blade of light immediately appeared in front of him. At that moment, countless demon soldiers rushed towards him. Go! Jiyu Fei flicked his finger, and the crescent-shaped blade of light in front of him immediately spun forward. Everywhere it passed, demon soldiers were cut in half at the waist, their blood splattering everywhere. This attack from Jiyu Fei's doppelganger killed thousands of demon soldiers. Roar! When Demon Lord Tian Xiong saw this, his eyes turned red. His body trembled, and the demon armor on his body immediately shattered. His entire body swelled up, and thick fur grew rapidly from his body. In the blink of an eye, a huge demon bear the size of a small mountain appeared in front of Jiyu Fei's doppelganger. The demon bear's body erupted with a terrifying fiendish aura, and it directly slapped towards Jiyu Fei's doppelganger. The demon bear's huge hand descended from the sky, and violent demon Dao power descended from its palm. Sand and stones flew everywhere, and the sun and moon lost their light. Jiyu Fei's doppelganger leaped to the side. Boom! With a loud bang, the demonic bear's palm fell, directly smashing a huge rock that weighed hundreds of thousands of kilograms under his feet. The entire ground shook violently like waves. Countless demon soldiers in the surroundings were shaken to the ground. Roar! Demon Bear was extremely ferocious. When its palm couldn't hit Jiyu Fei's doppelganger, it immediately stomped on Jiyu Fei's doppelganger. Jiyu Fei's doppelganger moved quickly, casually shooting out beams of divine light. Those divine lights were like peerless divine swords, piercing through the demonic weapons, causing demonic blood to splatter everywhere. A large number of demon soldiers fell to the ground and died. Damn it! Heavenly Bear Demon Lord was about to go crazy. These were the demon soldiers that he had painstakingly trained. They were the elites of the elites. Each of them had the cultivation of a demon god. They were a demon army that he had brought out from the far north demon region. Even in the far north demon region, where there was a forest of demons, this demon army was enough to wipe out an entire region. However, such a powerful demon army was actually unable to withstand a single blow from Jiyu Fei. This was truly unbelievable to Heavenly Bear Demon Lord. Could it be that this Jiyu Fei was actually a quasi-supreme? Jiyu Fei's strength shocked and angered Heavenly Bear Demon Lord. Rumble, an extremely shocking sound came from within the Heavenly Bear Demon army. It was like the rumbling of the 9 heavens' thunder. The next moment, the black fur of this heavenly bear actually turned golden. Is it popular to play with transformations these days? In his inner world, Jiyu Fei couldn't help but be interested when he saw this scene. However, his own cultivation was too weak. Against such a demon lord, he still didn't know who his opponent was. Of course, he had the eternal real bone. Even a demon lord wouldn't be able to kill him. However, if the other party couldn't kill him and sealed him, it would be difficult for him to escape. Right now, Ji Yufei was very worried about this point. At this time, in Heaven Demon Valley, the sounds of killing shook the heavens. There were corpses of demon soldiers everywhere. The demon blood on the ground gathered into small streams and broken weapons were scattered all over the ground. When the Qin clan's princess, Qin Yarrow, arrived and saw this scene, she was shocked. This Ji Yufei was truly a peerless monster. He actually killed his way into Heaven Demon Valley alone and fought against 100,000 demon soldiers. This was too amazing. When Qin Yarrow was born, Ji Yufei was already about to leave the human world. She had only heard about Ji Yufei from others. She had never seen Ji Yufei in action before. However, she actually met Ji Yuling and the others outside the entrance of the human race's ancient road. Ji Yufei's daughter and disciple were indeed extraordinary. Today, when she saw Ji Yufei, she realized that he was indeed as powerful and invincible as the rumors said. Qin Yarrow didn't go down. She only watched from the sky. Within Heaven Demon Valley, the demonic qi was vast and boundless. Countless demon soldiers were charging towards Ji Yufei with no regard for their own safety. However, in front of Ji Yufei, these powerful demon soldiers were as weak as ants. What shocked Qin Yarrow the most was that this Ji Yufei seemed to be able to see through the weaknesses of the demon soldiers with a single glance. With a casual strike, he was able to break through the demon soldiers' battle formation. This allowed him to kill a large number of demon soldiers. Could it be that this fella has done some research on the Tao of formations? Qin Yarrow muttered to herself. One must know that if one wasn't proficient in battle formations and battle techniques, Ji Yufei wouldn't be able to see through the weaknesses of a battle formation with a single glance. At this time, Ji Yufei had already started fighting against the Golden Demon Lord Tianxiong. Qin Yarrow didn't know that this Ji Yufei wasn't Ji Yufei's true body. Ji Yufei clenched his right fist and punched out at the Demon Lord Tianxiong. There were no berserk ripples, nor was there any blinding godly light. It looked like a punch that an ordinary person would throw out. However, it still managed to send the transformed Heavenly Bear Demon Lord flying. After transforming, the body of the transformed Demon Lord Tianxiong was extremely strong. It was already infinitely close to the body of a quasi-utmost being. Even so, he was still no match for Ji Yufei. Be it in terms of strength, mystic skills, or constitution, this clone of Ji Yufei was able to suppress the Demon Lord Tianxiong completely. Alright, stop playing around. Send him on his way. Ji Yufei gave the order to his clone. There was some sort of connection between him and his clone. Even though he was in the inner world, he could still control his clone. Right now, Ji Yufei was in an awkward situation. His main body was weaker than his clone. If his clone had a consciousness of its own, his main body would be in danger. It wasn't as though there had never been cases of a clone devouring the main body in the world of cultivation. If his clone were to devour his main body, Ji Yufei wouldn't be Ji Yufei anymore. Ji Yufei wouldn't allow something like that to happen. He had already prepared a backup plan. Even if his main body was weaker than his clone, he wasn't afraid. No matter how strong his clone was, it wouldn't be a threat to him. This was where Ji Yufei's confidence came from. He had the ability to control the life and death of others with a single thought. He was the only one who had mastered the life forbidden spell. This kind of ancient and practical forbidden spell was perfect for him to use to control his subordinates. He had quite a lot of subordinates. But now, he couldn't make use of them at all. This made him feel a little depressed. As soon as Ji Yufei gave the order, the eyes of Ji Yufei's clone in Heaven Demon Valley flashed with a sharp glint. I'll send you on your way. After saying that, Ji Yufei's doppelganger took a step forward and instantly disappeared. What? Heavenly Bear Demon Lord was shocked. He couldn't even see the person in front of him clearly. How was this possible? His strength and speed had increased by several times. He was actually hiding his strength. Heavenly Bear Demon Lord was in disbelief. At this moment, he felt a sharp pain on his back. Then, he heard the sound of bones breaking. He was very familiar with this sound because he often crushed other people's bones. Tian Xiong was a devil lord, and the number of human experts who had died in his hands was uncountable. What he liked the most was to hug his enemies and crush all their bones. For a saint-level expert, they could still live even if their bones were crushed. However, it was definitely an extremely painful and terrifying thing to watch and listen to one's bones being crushed one by one. Heavenly Bear Demon Lord enjoyed other people's pain. To him, the more pain others were in, the happier he was. But now, what he heard was not the sound of other people's bones being crushed. Instead, it was his own bones being broken. This was ridiculous. Roar! Heavenly Bear Demon Lord roared. All the golden hair on his body stood up. Every strand of hair was like a demonic needle. They suddenly shot out from his body and shot in all directions. This attack had no blind spots. Every inch of the void was shrouded in golden demonic light. Ji Fei's clone sneered. He was forced out, but he was fearless. Go to hell! Heavenly Bear Demon Lord roared. He stomped on the ground and leaped up ferociously, pouncing at Ji Fei's clone. Heavenly Bear Demon Lord's fists smashed down on Ji Fei's head with all his might. Under this attack, even the void was collapsing. It was extremely terrifying. However, Ji Fei merely raised his right hand and blocked Heavenly Bear Demon Lord's fists. What? Heavenly Bear Demon Lord was truly taken aback. His full-powered strike was actually blocked by the other party with a single hand. How was this possible? Was he a supreme being? Even Qin Yarrow, who was up in the skies, widened her mouth in shock. She was the princess of the Qin race. Naturally, her knowledge wasn't something that ordinary people could compare with. Heavenly Bear Demon Lord was a powerful being of the Heavenly Bear race. This was especially the case after he transformed. He was extremely strong. Even Qin Yarrow herself wouldn't dare to receive a single blow from the transformed Heavenly Bear Demon Lord head-on. But this Ji Fei was able to receive this blow from Heavenly Bear Demon Lord with ease. This sort of strength, this sort of cultivation state. Could he already be a supreme being? Did he use some sort of method to seal his own cultivation state? Qin Yarrow was extremely doubtful. Go! At this moment, within the valley, Ji Fei's clone grabbed onto one of Heavenly Bear Demon Lord's arms and swung him up, smashing him towards the group of demon soldiers on the ground. That's... Hurry up and run! The demon soldiers on the ground had just gotten into formation and were about to strike out against the enemy in the skies. However, when they raised their heads, they realized that their Lord Demon Lord was smashing down towards them. It was difficult for them to escape now. Boom! Chapter 42:14. Ji Fei's clone was extremely domineering as he pushed his way through, causing the demons in Sky Devil Valley to bleed like a river. The stench of blood filled the air. At this moment, Ji Fei's clone smashed Heavenly Bear Demon Lord into a formation of demonic soldiers below. In the next moment, the entire ground exploded as countless demonic soldiers were annihilated in body and soul. Dust rose as a huge pit appeared on the ground. The might of Ji Fei's smash had actually destroyed a battle formation. That was a battle formation of close to 10,000 people. With the power of close to 10,000 people gathered together, it was enough to contend against a sage. That was an immortal-grade demonic soldier. With the power of close to 10,000 immortal-grade demonic soldiers fused together, they could unleash an attack with the power of a sage. However, before the 10,000 demonic soldiers could attack, the battle formation was destroyed by Ji Fei. After his transformation, Heavenly Bear Demon Lord was extremely powerful. The strength of his demonic body was close to that of a quasi-supreme. The might of this smash would even shock Qin Yarrow. Roar! The roar of Heavenly Bear Demon Lord rang out from that huge pit on the ground. Terrifying sound waves spread out, causing the ground to tremble violently. Those demon soldiers that had yet to die were shaken by the sound waves and died instantly. Heavenly Bear Demon Lord had thick skin and flesh. Although this smash did not kill him, he was battered and exhausted. Heavenly Bear Demon Lord soared into the sky and came before Ji Fei's clone. You what? Go on your way. Ji Fei's clone could not be bothered to say anything more to this guy. He pointed out with a finger, and an immortal divine light shot out from the tip of his finger. This divine light emitted an extremely sharp sword chi fluctuation. Under the impact of the sword chi, the temperature of the entire world plummeted. This clone of Jiyu Fei cultivated in the sword Dao. With a sword in hand, he could break through all mystic arts. Roar! Heavenly Bear Demon Lord roared. Layers of demonic marks appeared on his body. The demonic marks interweaved and formed a demonic diagram in front of him. The demonic diagram sealed the void, and Heavenly Bear Devil Venerable wanted to block that sword light. However, the sword light pierced through the layers of demonic diagrams and pierced through Tian Xiong Demon Venerable's chest, drawing out a stream of demonic blood. Haha, what use is that? My demon body is indestructible. Heavenly Bear Archdevil laughed maniacally. Even if his demon body was shattered, he could recover instantly. The recovery ability of the Heavenly Bear Demons was definitely one of the best among the demons. At the level of the Heavenly Bear Demon Lord, he had long reached the point where he could revive from just a single drop of blood. Really? Jiyu Fei's doppelganger smiled. You want to kill me with mere sword chi? You're underestimating me. Demon Lord Heavenly Bear grinned as he stared at the black-robed youth. Sigh, are demons all idiots? Jiyu Fei's doppelganger shook his head helplessly. Who are you calling a fool? Demon Venerable Heavenly Bear was instantly enraged. Isn't that so? You still don't know that you're about to die. What a joke. Jiyu Fei's doppelganger sighed. What? Demon Venerable Heavenly Bear was both shocked and furious. At this moment, he felt a chill in his heart and all the blood in his body seemed to have frozen. The shock of the Heavenly Bear Demon Lord was truly not to be underestimated. At this moment, Demon Venerable Heavenly Bear realized that there was a terrifying killing force invading his body. This killing force was acting up. How is this possible? Demon Venerable Heavenly Bear stared at Jiyu Fei's doppelganger in disbelief. At this moment, Demon Venerable Heavenly Bear's movements stiffened. Soon, a layer of white frost appeared on the surface of his body. It was as though his entire body was frozen. In just a few breaths' time, Demon Venerable Heavenly Bear had turned into an ice sculpture. He fell from the sky and smashed hard onto the ground, shattering into pieces. A Demon Venerable of a generation had fallen just like that. Lord Demon Venerable, at the sight of this, all the demons in Sky Demon Valley were extremely shocked. Soon, the demons came back to their senses and fled. What an idiot. Jiyu Fei's doppelganger raised his right hand and a ball of divine light appeared on his palm. At the next moment, the ball of divine light exploded and turned into countless sword gleams that shot out in all directions before landing on the ground. Then, screams rang out. Each sword gleam pierced through a demon soldier. For a moment, blood was everywhere as the demon soldiers fell to the ground one after another. Even demon sages were unable to escape. They were pierced by the sword gleams and lost their lives. This killing sword was extremely terrifying. Even Demon Venerable Heavenly Bear could not withstand a single sword from Jiyu Fei's doppelganger, let alone these small fries. None of the demons were spared. Sky Demon Valley was completely annihilated by Jiyu Fei's doppelganger. This guy, in the sky, Qin Yarrow was stunned when she saw this. Jiyu Fei had actually flattened Sky Demon Valley all by himself. Jiyu Fei's battle was destined to shock the world. However, Jiyu Fei's doppelganger did not care about this. He shot up into the sky and disappeared into the horizon. Qin Yarrow was stunned when she saw this. Did Jiyu Fei just leave like that? Not long after Jiyu Fei left, the Ironblood Taoist arrived with his army. When the Ironblood Taoist and the others saw the scene in front of them, they were scared out of their wits. Countless demons in Sky Demon Valley had fallen to the ground. Blood flowed like a river. Is this Master's masterpiece? The Ironblood Taoist and the others were stunned. Especially Saint Wujue, who almost wet his pants when he saw this. He did not expect their master to be so powerful that he could destroy Sky Demon Valley all by himself. That was the Heavenly Devil Valley. Behind the Heavenly Devil Valley was the entire extreme North Devil region. How is this possible? Saint Wujue mumbled to himself. To Master, nothing is impossible. Zhu Guliang said coldly. The other sages did not say anything. Let's go and clean up the battlefield. The Iron-Blood Taoist waved his right hand and led his army into Sky Demon Valley. At this moment, Ji Yufei's doppelganger had already entered Ji Yufei's inner world, and Ji Yufei's real body had come out. He did not return to Wanxiang City. Instead, he headed straight for the entrance of the ancient road of the human race. He did not want to wait any longer. He wanted to set foot on the ancient road of the human race to find his daughter, Ji Yuling. He believed that this battle would definitely be able to suppress those with ill intentions. The entrance of the ancient road of the human race was still under the control of the Qin clan. The other forces did not dare to voice their anger. One must know that the Qin clan was an emperor clan. Old man Qin Huang was so powerful that even the Jiang clan of the Desolation clan would not dare to provoke them. When Ji Yufei arrived at the entrance of the ancient road of the human race, he was stopped by two experts from the Qin clan. What? Are you trying to rob me? Ji Yufei furrowed his brows. Haha, little brat, you don't know the rules at all. Are you a barbarian from the mountains? A dark-skinned, tall, and thin middle-aged man said with a smile. If you wish to set foot on the ancient road of the human race, hand over 5 catties of immortal crystals. The other middle-aged man said. 5 catties of immortal crystals? When Ji Yufei heard this, he felt a little displeased. That was immortal crystals. The Qin clan was too much. How could those rogue cultivators afford 5 catties of immortal crystals? No. Then go back to where you came from, that middle-aged man said with a look of disdain. What if I don't leave? Ji Yufei suddenly laughed. Then you don't have to leave. That middle-aged man's voice instantly turned cold. You want to kill me? Ji Yufei was truly enraged. Was this Qin clan really so tyrannical? They even dared to kill 2 guards for their treasures. Just a little brat who came out of nowhere. So what if I kill him? What's the big deal? That tall and skinny middle-aged man said with disdain. Then you guys can come and kill me. Ji Yufei was truly enraged. The Qin clan actually allowed these people to run amok. Me. That tall and skinny middle-aged man sneered. With a wave of his right hand, a divine light rushed out from his hand and slashed towards Ji Yufei. A sharp saber aura immediately spread out. Sigh. Ji Yufei let out a sigh. In the next moment, he took a step forward and immediately disappeared on the spot. When that tall and skinny man saw this scene, he was both shocked and enraged. He lifted his head and saw a huge foot stomping down from the sky. Bam! That huge foot directly stepped on that tall and skinny man's face. That tall and skinny man cried out in pain and staggered backwards. He spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and over 10 teeth. What? When the other middle-aged man saw this, he was shocked and hurriedly made his move. With a wave of his right hand, a ball of black light immediately flew out from his hand and enveloped Ji Yufei. Ha! When the 2 gatekeepers saw that Ji Yufei was captured, they were instantly overjoyed. However, at the next moment, their laughter stopped abruptly. They saw that it was a net that enveloped Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei directly grabbed the net with both hands and pulled it to the left and right. A large hole was torn in the net. The 2 gatekeepers were shocked. They didn't dare to underestimate Ji Yufei anymore. Kill. As Ji Yufei spoke, he instantly disappeared. In the next moment, he appeared behind the 2 disciples of the Qin clan. Then, he used his hand as a blade and directly slashed their waists. Even in death, the 2 of them couldn't believe that this guy actually dared to kill them. Others might not dare to offend the Qin clan, but Ji Yufei wasn't afraid. After killing the 2 scum of the Qin clan, Ji Yufei directly walked in and arrived at the teleportation platform. At this moment, there were already many people inside. Brother, do you know that you have pierced the sky? The Qin clan isn't to be trifled with. A young Daoist suddenly said to Ji Yufei. Is that so? Ji Yufei didn't deny it. The news that he had killed the guard at the gate had already spread far and wide. Brother, you are amazing. You actually dared to kill someone from the Qin clan. Another middle-aged cultivator gave Ji Yufei a thumbs up. Offending an emperor clan won't do you any good. An old man with white hair said. So what if you are from an emperor clan? If you dare to provoke me, I will kill you without mercy. Jiyu Fei said. His voice wasn't loud, but it reached everyone's ears. This. Chapter 42:15. In the eyes of all the cultivators in the human realm, the emperor clans were high and mighty existences that could contend against the extreme Tao legacies. Even the saints of the sacred grounds and gods sects wouldn't dare to offend the emperor clans. Who was this person? How dare he kill the two guards of the ancient road of the human race? Although the two guards were despicable, the cultivators who were about to set foot on the ancient road of the human race had no choice but to swallow their anger. Although the two guards' cultivation bases were nothing special, killing them was equivalent to slapping the emperor clans in the face. To ordinary cultivators, this was no different from courting death. How dare you? Who dares to kill the disciples of my clan? At this moment, an angry roar came from outside the entrance of the ancient road of the human race. Then, a terrifying aura surged in from the outside. All the cultivators on the ancient road of the human race were indescribably shocked. The cultivators around Jiyu Fei immediately dispersed and hid far away. If they were to stand together with Jiyu Fei, they would be in deep trouble. At this moment, a tall figure walked in from outside the entrance of the ancient road of the human race. The powerful aura disappeared the moment it entered the space outside the entrance. There was a formation guarding the entrance of the ancient road of the human race. The power of the formation suppressed all cultivators above the immortal god realm. In other words, as long as a cultivator's cultivation base was higher than the immortal god realm, they would be suppressed by the power of the formation. That person might be a great expert on the outside, but once he entered the range of the formation, he would be an immortal god. That is, at this time, the cultivators outside the entrance of the human clan's ancient road were shocked when they saw the tall cultivator striding in. Why is it him? This little fella is in trouble. Why is he here? The surrounding cultivators could recognize this person, but this was the first time Jiyu Fei saw this fella. This fella was wearing a white robe and looked handsome. His eyes were shining brightly. He was looking at Jiyu Fei. Are you the one who killed the two people outside? In the Qin clan, Qin Lei was the other expert apart from the Qin clan's princess. He was viewed as one of the successors of the Qin clan's next clan leader. The Qin clan's princess wasn't the only successor of the Qin clan's clan leader. Even if the princess wanted to sit on the position of clan leader, she would have to compete with the geniuses of the clan. Only those who are capable can occupy the top positions. This was the Qin clan's motto. So what if I killed him? Jiyu Fei looked at the guy opposite him with a faint smile. If that's the case, then you can die now. Qin Lei said coldly. He didn't ask who Jiyu Fei was or where he came from. He just wanted to kill Jiyu Fei. Many people wanted to kill me, but they were all killed by me in the end. Jiyu Fei looked at Qin Lei seriously and said, Is that so? That's because those people are trash. Qin Lei said proudly. Hehe, you mean to say that you're not one of those trash? Jiyu Fei said with a smile. I don't care who you are or what background you have. Since you offended my Qin clan, only death awaits you. Qin Lei said and took a step forward. Bam! A muffled sound was heard and the entire ground shook. It was as though a giant had stomped on the ground. Qin Lei cultivated a secret technique of the Qin clan. Once he made his debut, he was known to be invincible among those of the same level. This was why he was so confident and also the reason why he dared to attack at the entrance of the ancient road of the human clan. If you want to fight, let's fight. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Jiyu Fei said and took a step forward. He clenched his fist and punched towards Qin Lei. He already knew from the conversations of the surrounding people that this guy was called Qin Lei. Since when did the Qin clan have such a character? Qin Lei's arrogant and lofty aura couldn't be faked. Instinct told Jiyu Fei that this guy's cultivation was definitely not below the princess of the Qin clan. In the Qin clan, there was actually someone who could compete with the princess. This made Jiyu Fei feel a little incredulous. There were two experts in the Qin clan. Were they going to defy the heavens? Of course, the Qin clan was an imperial clan that had inherited the legacy of an invincible great emperor. It wasn't strange for there to be one or two top experts in the same generation. At this time, Qin Lei also punched towards Ji Yufei. The two fists collided with each other in an instant, and the sound of metal clashing rang out. The two silhouettes separated in an instant and collided with each other in an instant. The two of them were like two moving mountains, constantly colliding and clashing. This was a battle of pure physical strength. Both Ji Yufei and Qin Lei's cultivation were suppressed to the immortal spirit realm by the power of the formation. This guy does have some skills. Ji Yufei finally understood why Qin Lei was so confident. This guy had an extremely powerful physical body. His physical body was extremely tough. Qin Lei was very strong. Every move he made had great power. Although Ji Yufei wasn't a saint yet, his physical body was extremely strong. One should know that his physical body had been tempered by eternal energy. The eternal power was known to be even stronger than the primordial chaos power. The primordial power had its limits, but the eternal power could exist for eternity. Qin Lei's physical body was very strong. One could tell that he had tempered his physical body with primordial force. This was the primordial Tao body. No wonder he was so confident. Primordial Tao body? Ji Yufei smiled. Using primordial force to temper one's physical body. Only the imperial clan could do such a thing. One should know that it was primordial qi. Hearing Ji Yufei's words, Qin Lei couldn't help but be astonished. This guy could recognize primordial qi. He even called out his own physique. What? Qin Lei has the primordial Tao body? The spectators were all shocked. The primordial Tao body was a physique that only existed in the legends. They were actually lucky enough to see such a physique. No wonder he was able to compete with Princess for the position of the next clan leader of the Qin clan. Someone exclaimed, "Primordial Tao body." Everyone stared in disbelief at Qin Lei, who was fighting against Ji Yufei. The two of them moved at an extremely fast speed, leaving behind only a series of afterimages in the void. Even if the spectators had divine eyes, it would still be difficult for them to catch a glimpse of them. Just their physical strength alone is already so strong. Everyone was in disbelief. The combat strength displayed by Ji Yufei and Qin Lei was too strong. It had already surpassed the immortal realm. No wonder Qin Lei was known to be undefeatable in the same realm. Just his physical strength alone was already so strong. Wouldn't his strength be multiplied if he used his divine arts? This is what it means to be undefeatable in the same realm. We've all lived in vain. An elder sighed. The cultivation and combat strength of these two were beyond his reach even if he cultivated for his entire life. They are indeed undefeatable in the same realm. Another old man sighed. Boom. Bam. Muffled sounds of collision could be heard continuously. Ji Yufei's hands danced in the air, constantly striking at Qin Lei's vital parts. However, Qin Lei was not to be trifled with. He blocked all of Ji Yufei's attacks. No wonder you dared to kill those two guys outside. At this time, Qin Lei finally realized how powerful Ji Yufei was. This guy could actually fight evenly with him. Could it be that this guy also had a heaven-defying constitution? That must be it. However, Qin Lei could not tell what kind of constitution this guy had. Ji Yufei was like an ordinary person. This surprised Qin Lei. Could this be returning to one's natural state? Could one really return to one's natural state after cultivating to the extreme? Even Qin Lei himself was still surrounded by primordial chaos qi. It was impossible to completely conceal the primordial chaos qi on his body. At least, it was impossible in his opinion. How did this guy do it? Although Qin Lei was surprised, he was still very confident. The primordial Tao body was already the strongest Tao body in the world of cultivation. With the strongest Tao body, who would he be afraid of? There was no way there was a Tao body stronger than his in this world. You've surprised me, Ji Yufei said as he attacked. What did you say? Qin Lei was both shocked and angry. Hey, you're here? At that moment, Another person walked in from the entrance of the ancient road of humanity. This person wore purple clothes and had a graceful figure. Her face was covered, and her eyes were full of spirit. When she saw Jiyu Fei and Qin Lei fighting, she was shocked. Why is she here? When Qin Lei saw who it was, he could not help but feel shocked, revealing an opening. Naturally, Jiyu Fei would not miss such a rare opportunity. He grabbed Qin Lei's shoulder with his right hand. In the next moment, the sound of bones breaking was heard from Qin Lei's shoulder. Qin Lei's entire left arm was crippled. Raw. Qin Lei struggled fiercely and blood appeared. He had actually broken his left arm and retreated explosively. Nice. Jiyu Fei looked at the broken arm. He could not help but admire Qin Lei's decisiveness. He was ruthless to his enemies and even more ruthless to himself. Qin Lei knew very well that if he was caught by Jiyu Fei, he would be doomed eternally. He could only sever his arm and escape. If not, it would be hard for him to preserve his life. The other party wouldn't show mercy just because he was from the Qin clan. If not, this person wouldn't have acted to kill the two Qin clan members guarding this place. In reality, the two Qin clan members guarding the entrance of the ancient road of humanity were only from the side branches. They were not direct descendants of the Qin clan. The direct descendants of the Qin clan would not have been sent to guard the entrance of the ancient road of humanity. Die. Jiyu Fei stomped on the ground with his right foot and leaped into the air. Like a divine eagle, he swooped towards the retreating Qin Lei. A pair of eagle claws tore through the air. Have mercy. The person shouted. Kumpi. Jiyu Fei did not stop. He reached out with his right hand and grabbed Qin Lei's head. As long as he tightened his fingers, he would be able to crush Qin Lei's skull. How about you return me a favor? Just as Jiyu Fei was about to send this genius of the Qin clan on his way, he heard this person's words. Are you sure? Jiyu Fei glanced at the person. This person was the princess of the Qin clan, Qin Yarrow. She was the one who sent the letter to let Jiyu Fei know about her daughter. Jiyu Ling. Jiyu Fei owed her a favor. Chapter 42:16. Killing you is as easy as killing a chicken for me. Jiyu Fei's right hand held onto Qin Lei's skull. If he wanted to, he could crush Qin Lei's skull, shatter his primordial spirit, and end his life. He didn't care who Qin Lei was. So what if he killed him? What else in this world could make him feel threatened? In the human world, with the power of heaven's punishment, supreme beings wouldn't dare to show themselves. Demigods couldn't do anything to him either. In other words, he could do whatever he wanted in the human world. Raw. Qin Lei struggled with all his might. However, the restraining force from Jiyu Fei's hand was far too strong for him to break free. On the empty field outside the entrance of the human race's ancient road, the spectators were shocked. Who was this person? How did he defeat Qin Lei? Qin Lei was one of the most talented descendants of the Qin clan. Ever since Qin Lei began his cultivation journey, he was known as undefeatable and undefeatable. It was true. Ever since he began his cultivation journey, he had never met a worthy opponent. Against those of the same level, he could be considered undefeatable. However, the battle between him and Jiyu Fei, who were both in the immortal god realm, had ended with his defeat. Such an outcome was out of everyone's expectations. How is this possible? That's Qin Lei we're talking about. How did he lose so badly? Under everyone's watchful eyes, could it be fake? Who would have thought that Qin Lei's undefeatable legend would be ended by this person? The spectators all felt that it was a pity. Just as Jiyu Fei was about to kill Qin Lei, Qin Yarrow arrived. Qin Yarrow and Qin Lei were the most talented descendants of the Qin clan and were two of the candidates for the next clan leader. The two were competitors. However, Qin Yarrow was willing to waste a favor from Jiyu Fei in exchange for Qin Lei's life. As such, it was a little surprising. One had to know that if Qin Lei died, Qin Yarrow would have one less powerful competitor. The position of the Qin clan's next clan leader would be hers. It seems like you are not destined to die today. Jiyu Fei looked at Qin Lei and grinned. With a wave of his right hand, he tossed Qin Lei to Qin Yarrow's feet. I hope you won't regret it. Ji Yufei glanced at Qin Yarrow and said indifferently, "Today's humiliation will be repaid in the future." Qin Lei stood up from the ground in a sorry state. He glared at Ji Yufei and gritted his teeth. "I think you'd better take a detour when you see me next time. You won't be so lucky next time." Ji Yufei didn't take Lei Qin seriously at all. In the eyes of others, the primordial Tao body was the strongest Tao body in the world. However, Ji Yufei was unafraid. Qin Lei was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body swayed and he nearly fell. He was a proud son of heaven, and no one had ever dared to look down on him. Who exactly was this guy? Qin Lei still did not know who Ji Yufei was. Without hesitation, Ji Yufei stepped onto the ancient road of the human tribe and disappeared at the entrance. Who is this lord? The spectators all shook their heads. Preposterous. Qin Lei was about to go crazy. He had been saved by his rival, Qin Yarrow. This was worse than killing him. How could he compete with Qin Yarrow for the position of clan leader? You know him? Who is he? Qin Lei stared at Qin Yarrow and asked. His name is Ji Yufei. Qin Yarrow glanced at Qin Lei, then turned around and left without looking back. Ji Yufei? Why does this name sound so familiar? I seem to have heard it somewhere before. Everyone was deep in thought. Ji Yufei? Qin Lei's face turned pale when he heard this. Although he had never met Ji Yufei, as the most outstanding descendant of the Qin clan, he naturally knew many things that others did not. She knows Ji Yufei? Qin Lei was in disbelief. This was a fierce man of his generation. Back in the day, this fierce man had killed so many people that blood flowed like a river. His reputation was built on killing. Was that Ji Yufei? Some of the older cultivators finally remembered who Ji Yufei was. Could it really be him? Someone said in shock. He actually embarked on the ancient road of the human race. The news spread and shocked the entire world of cultivation. Ji Yufei had returned. A fierce man of his generation had actually returned. Ji Yufei's return was unbelievable to many. One should know that Ji Yufei had not appeared for a very long time. When the news of Ji Yufei annihilating Heaven Devil Valley and defeating Qin Lei of the Qin clan spread, the entire world of cultivation was in an uproar. The news even reached the heavenly realm. While the entire world of cultivation was in an uproar because of Ji Yufei's return, Ji Yufei had already embarked on the ancient road of the human race. The ancient road of the human race was a path of cultivation. Once one walked on this path, one's cultivation would definitely improve greatly. Of course, this path was not peaceful and there were dangers everywhere. At this time, Ji Yufei was moving forward rapidly in the void. Soon, an impregnable pass appeared in front of him. Ji Yufei stepped onto the pass and saw that the entire pass had been turned into ruins. The tall walls had already collapsed. The first pass of the human race had actually turned into ruins. Ji Yufei walked in the ruins and saw white bones everywhere. He could also see fragments of ritual implements scattered on the ground. It seemed that an incomparably fierce battle had taken place here. Swoosh! The moment Ji Yufei stopped, a black shadow flew from his feet and bit towards his calf. Ji Yufei stretched out his right hand and directly used his index and middle fingers to clamp the black shadow. The black shadow was only the length of a chopstick and it constantly struggled in his hand. It was a black snake. Ji Yufei waved his hand and the black snake immediately flew out. With a bang, it actually smashed through a wall. The little black snake did not die and instantly disappeared into the rubble. However, very soon, there was a series of rustling sounds. He saw that in the surrounding bricks, there were actually countless little black snakes burrowing out, which made Ji Yufei very surprised. Countless little black snakes surrounded Ji Yufei. Snake demon? Ji Yufei could not help but frown when he sensed a trace of demonic energy. At this time, there was a sudden muffled sound nearby. Then, Ji Yufei saw a shocking scene. He saw a huge black snake burrowing out of the ground. It was a huge snake with a 2-meter diameter and a few hundred meters long. Compared to this big guy, those little black snakes as thick as chopsticks were practically negligible. At this time, The huge black snake had already locked onto Ji Yufei. Swoosh! The huge snake directly rushed towards Ji Yufei. Everywhere it passed, the broken walls and tiles were directly smashed into pieces. At this time, the little black snakes made way for the huge snake to rush over. Scram! Ji Yufei stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking indifferently at the huge snake opposite him. However, what answered him was the snake's tail that quickly whipped towards him. Bam! The huge snake's tail fiercely lashed out, making a muffled sound. The huge snake's tail was actually blocked. Reckless, Ji Yufei said as he pointed out with his finger. Immediately, a ray of blood appeared on the huge snake's body. In the next moment, the huge snake fell to the ground, directly dead. A little demon dares to be presumptuous. As he spoke, Ji Yufei flew up into the sky. He had a hunch that the ancient road was most likely under attack. Could it be that the demon race was wreaking havoc on the ancient road of the human race? He continued to walk forward. After leaving the first stage of the ancient road of the human race, Ji Yufei followed the ancient road and traveled through the endless starry sky. Soon, a huge planet appeared in front of him. This huge planet was verdant and lush, and it was filled with vitality. However, what Ji Yufei found strange was that this huge planet that was full of vitality was terrifyingly quiet. He could not hear any roars of wild beasts. Ji Yufei directly landed on this huge planet. There were also buildings of the human race on this huge planet. However, these buildings were directly destroyed and turned into ruins. Seeing this scene, Ji Yufei was very surprised. What exactly happened? Why was there not a single person on the ancient road of the human race? This was not a good thing. One must know that the ancient road of the human race had been revealed for a long time. In the current era, there was a continuous stream of people stepping on the ancient road of the human race. It was impossible for the ancient road of the human race to be empty. On this huge planet, let alone humans, there was not even a bird or a lizard to be seen. It was too clean. Animals were extinct. Ji Yufei walked through the entire huge planet. Finally, he stopped in front of a towering ancient tree. He lifted his head to look at the tree. He saw that the tree pierced through the clouds. The diameter of the tree was more than 100 meters. This was the oldest and largest tree on the entire planet. Show yourself, Ji Yufei said calmly. There was no movement around. Do you want me to invite you out? Ji Yufei stared at the tree. There was still no reaction from the tree. Ji Yufei flipped his right hand, and a ball of divine fire immediately appeared in his palm. Whoosh! At this moment, the tree in front of Ji Yufei moved. Countless roots broke through the ground and directly entangled Ji Yufei. A ball of divine light appeared on Ji Yufei's body. The tree roots that were trying to entangle him were directly blocked by his protective divine light. At this moment, the huge divine tree shook. The huge tree trunk cracked, and a figure struggled out of the tree trunk. It was a young man with green hair. Seeing this, Ji Yufei did not make a move. He waited for the divine tree to shed its trunk. This method of shedding one's original body was common among the demon race. Great demons who shed their original body would become stronger and more terrifying. The young man who struggled out of the tree trunk exuded a horrifying aura. A peerless great demon was born. No wonder there was not a single animal on this huge planet. They were all eaten by this divine tree. This tree had reached the realm of transformation and needed a large amount of essence. Once it succeeded, this divine tree would be reborn. Half an hour later, the young man struggled to climb out of the tree trunk. Boom! In the next moment, endless essence gathered from all directions and was directly devoured by this young man. In an instant, the weather on the huge planet changed. All the world essence chi of the entire planet was being attracted by this guy. Chapter 42:17. The ancient road of the human race was not an easy path to tread. It was a form of training. There were all sorts of dangers on the road, and one careless mistake could lead to death. Countless years ago, the supreme existences of the human race built the ancient road of the human race to allow the human race to seek breakthroughs in life and death situations, to break through their own limits. Therefore, Those who set foot on the ancient road of the human race were prepared to face death. It was clear that something horrifying had happened on the ancient road of the human race. Even the strongest pass of the human race had been breached and turned into ruins. The destruction of the human race's pass was no small matter. Outside beings could enter the human realm through the entrance of the ancient road of the human race. Jiyu Fei did not have the time to care about who had attacked the ancient road of the human race. He needed to rush to the primeval ancestral planet to save his daughter, Jiyu Ling. However, along the way, Jiyu Fei found that the entire ancient road was very strange. The human race on the ancient road seemed to have been cleansed. Someone actually dared to do such a thing. This had crossed Jiyu Fei's bottom line. After all, he was a human. Rumble, at this time, on a nameless planet, an ancient tree was actually transforming. The heaven and earth spiritual chi of the entire planet was being drawn over. Even the heaven and earth spiritual chi of the nearby starry skies was being drawn over. This ancient tree had cultivated for an unknown period of time. Today, it could finally take the step of transforming. Jiyu Fei did not stop it. He wanted to know what had happened on this planet from the mouth of this ancient tree. Although this ancient tree was powerful, it was far from the five elements tree king of the past. Of course, Jiyu Fei made this judgment based on its constitution. This ancient tree only had an ordinary constitution, while the five elements tree king of the past had a constitution of all five elements. Ordinary beings could also be heaven-defying. Even a blade of grass could become an invincible great emperor. An ordinary person could also become an invincible renhuang that swept through the 3,000 great realms. Although innate constitutions were important, it would not determine a person's or a being's future achievements. Growth was the key. Jiyu Fei stood with his hands clasped behind his back, waiting quietly. The old tree's boundless essence all gathered into a bewitching young man. The young man was formed from the old tree's soul. He left the tree's body and took on human form. This was a perfect transformation for the old tree. From now on, he was no longer a tree, but a humanoid creature of the wood element. He was naturally compatible with the power of the wood element. The weather on the entire planet changed, the sun and moon dimmed, and the boundless energy of the world and the vital essence of all living beings was being madly seized by the green-haired young man. All the plants on the planet were withering, and all the wood elemental creatures on the planet were heading towards death. This was using the lives of countless wood elemental creatures on this vast planet to help this old tree grow. Boundless essence energy gathered towards the green-haired young man. Every breath of the young man caused the entire world to tremble. After taking human form, it's already a half-step saint. This old tree is quite amazing. Jiyu Fei was also a little surprised. This old tree had cultivated for countless years. Once it transformed, it directly became a half-step sage. It was only a matter of time before it became a sage. It could be said that this old tree had reached the sky in a single step. The green-haired young man that was formed from the old tree's soul didn't take the step of becoming a sage. He stopped at the half-step saint realm. The young man stopped, and the chaotic energy in the world gradually calmed down. Human, why are you here? The green-haired young man floated in the air, looking down at Jiyu Fei indifferently, as if he was above everyone else. Half-step saints could indeed stand above all living beings. I'm not used to raising my head to talk to others. Come down, Jiyu Fei said indifferently. What did you say? The green-haired young man glared, and two beams of green light rushed out of his eyes, piercing towards Jiyu Fei. How dare you? At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared next to Jiyu Fei. It was a blurry figure, but the aura it exuded was very shocking. The figure didn't even move his hand. He only blew, and the two beams of green light that pierced towards Jiyu Fei disappeared in the void. What? Seeing this, the green-haired young man's eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. You, the green-haired young man was really shocked. Why aren't you coming down? Do you really want me to invite you? Jiyu Fei didn't even look at the guy. Who are you? The green-haired young man stared at Jiyu Fei, his face extremely solemn. Little fella, come down. As Jiyu Fei spoke, the figure next to him made a move. The blurry figure only raised his right hand, and the green-haired young man in the sky screamed and fell from the sky, landing at Ji Yufei's feet. The figure pressed his right hand towards the green-haired young man, and the green-haired young man sank into the ground. Don't spare me. The green-haired young man finally realized how powerful the other party was. The person beside him didn't make a move, but the person next to him made a move, and he couldn't fight back at all. It was hard to imagine how powerful this black-haired young man was. It should be known that the green-haired young man was transformed from an old divine tree. After successfully transforming, he directly possessed the powerful cultivation and combat strength of a half-step sage. That was a half-step sage. Although he wasn't a real sage, he was close to it. The figure next to Ji Yufei withdrew his right hand. The green-haired young man immediately felt his body lighten, and he quickly climbed out of the ground, looking extremely embarrassed. So it's Lord Sage. The green-haired young man knelt down at Ji Yufei's feet in fear. Let me ask you, why is it that aside from flowers and trees, there are no other living creatures on this planet? Ji Yufei asked indifferently. Lord Sage, that's because of the foreign races. The green-haired young man hurriedly said. The foreign races? Ji Yufei couldn't help but frown when he heard this. The so-called foreign races referred to those living beings that weren't in the human world. The foreign races actually attacked the ancient road of the human race. This was definitely not a good thing. The foreign races feed on blood. All living beings with flesh and blood on this planet are doomed, the green-haired young man said. What? Ji Yufei was shocked when he heard this. The foreign races were actually so powerful, and it was beyond Ji Yufei's imagination. Ji Yufei pondered for a moment, then directly soared into the sky and disappeared into the void. The figure next to him also disappeared. The green-haired young man didn't expect that Ji Yufei would let him go so easily. This made him surprised and happy, and he felt like he had escaped from death. Who is this person? The green-haired young man murmured to himself. Chapter 42:18. The otherworldly tribes had once attacked the ancient road of the human tribe. Wherever the otherworldly tribes passed, all living beings with flesh and blood would suffer because the otherworldly tribes fed on blood. However, Ji Yufei was unafraid. He displayed his extreme speed and moved quickly in the starry sky. Soon, a bright star field appeared in front of him. The large stars were glowing, and the power of the stars was vast. The radiant star field? Ji Yufei stopped in the air and looked at the star field in front of him. He could not help but feel surprised. The ancient road of the human tribe that led to the primeval ancestral planet was indeed dangerous. Ji Yufei did not hesitate and directly flew toward the star field in front of him. The closer he got to the radiant star field, the stronger the power of the stars. He directly entered the radiant star field. Did the otherworldly tribes also come to the radiant star field? Ji Yufei could not sense any aura. There was not a single living being in the entire radiant star field, which surprised him. This was a star field, after all. A place like the radiant star field, where the power of the stars gathered, was definitely not a place without a master. However, no one came out to stop Ji Yufei. The entire star field was eerily quiet. That is, Ji Yufei suddenly saw countless objects floating in the starry sky in front of him. Countless bricks and tiles were scattered in the starry sky. It was a wasteland. From afar, it looked like a star that had been blown up. As expected, Ji Yufei was not surprised to see this. It was just a star that had been blown up. Even he could blow up a star with a punch now. This was a battle between powerful beings above the sage level. Sages could pluck stars, capture moons, and swallow suns. Destroying a star was as easy as flipping one's hand for a sage-level being. Ji Yufei passed through the wasteland and was shocked by the scene in front of him. It was a huge wasteland in front of him. Countless stars had been blown up. He smelled blood. Whoosh! Ji Yufei took a step forward and disappeared into the void. When he reappeared, he was deep in the wasteland. This was a star field that had been destroyed, and there were broken stars everywhere. At this time, in front of Ji Yufei, there was a creature larger than a star floating in the void along with several shattered stars. It was a creature that Ji Yufei had never seen before. It looked like a pangolin, but it had 6 sharp claws. There was a bloody hole in this creature's head. It seemed like someone had pierced through its head and killed it here. The stench of blood that Ji Yufei smelled came from this creature. Even though this creature was dead, the fiendish aura that emanated from its body was not something that ordinary people could endure. What is this? Ji Yufei muttered to himself. This should be the so-called alien race from the outer space. Sure enough, it was ugly enough. The Xeno race fed on blood, and everywhere they passed, living beings with flesh and blood would be annihilated without leaving a single one alive. They could be said to be ferocious to the extreme. Ji Yufei suddenly pointed a finger, and a ray of divine light immediately rushed out from the tip of his finger, instantly shooting at the giant beast in front of him. Clang! The moment the beam of light hit the giant beast, a metallic clang rang out. It was unable to break through the scales on the giant beast's body. How is this possible? Ji Yufei was taken aback. Although it was a casual strike from him, it couldn't even break the scales on the giant beast's body. This giant beast was absolutely powerful to the extreme. And the existence that killed this gigantic beast was most likely a quasi-supreme being. At this moment, the head of this giant beast suddenly moved. Ji Yufei was shocked, thinking that this giant beast was not completely dead. However, the next moment, something suddenly crawled out of the bloody hole on the head of this giant beast. This thing was golden, and it looked like a beetle. This beetle-like thing had a long, sharp thorn growing out of its mouth. Swoosh! The golden beetle-like thing actually pounced at Ji Yufei at an extremely fast speed. Ji Yufei slapped out and directly slapped this unknown creature away. However, this creature was extremely strong, and in the next moment, it pounced at Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei flipped his right hand, and a divine sword immediately appeared in his hand. Swoosh! Ji Yufei slashed with his sword, and a sword light flashed through the void. The beetle-like thing was slashed in half by Ji Yufei's sword. Another alien race. Ji Yufei sheathed his sword and continued to walk forward. Soon, he saw many corpses again. This time, there were human corpses, broken weapons, and a strong smell of blood. Cough, cough. Just as Ji Yufei was shocked, a cough suddenly came from the starry sky on his right. There are still people alive. When Ji Yufei heard the cough, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he directly rushed in the direction of the sound. A middle-aged man in a navy blue robe was sitting cross-legged on a huge rock floating in the air. This middle-aged man was covered in blood. In some places, even his bones were exposed. The middle-aged man's aura began to weaken. If there were no accidents, this middle-aged man was definitely dead because his injuries were too serious. When Ji Yufei came to the giant rock, the man was surprised and happy. In his excitement, he spat out a mouthful of blood. What the hell happened? Ji Yufei asked. An alien race, the middle-aged man said and coughed again. When the middle-aged man finished coughing, he told Ji Yufei what had happened. It turned out that the entire radiant starfield had been invaded by the alien race. After a great battle, except for a few human experts who had successfully escaped, the rest were all killed and eaten by the alien race. The human race and other living creatures were treated as food by the alien race. The destruction of the radiant starfield shocked Ji Yufei. From the middle-aged man, he learned that the alien race had already killed their way to the Primeval ancestral star. After hearing this, Ji Yufei took out a medicinal pill and threw it to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man caught the divine pill, and a fragrance immediately rushed into his nose. Ji Yufei did not pay attention to this guy anymore, and directly rushed in the direction of the Primeval ancestral star. He wanted to see how strong and arrogant the alien race was to dare to sweep the entire ancient road of the human race. I don't have to die. At this time, the middle-aged man in the radiant starfield ate the divine pill that Ji Yufei had given him. Chapter 42:19. There were 5 ancestral stars in the human realm. The primordial ancestral star was the most mysterious among the 5. Some said that the first life in the human realm was born from the primordial ancestral star. At this moment, the most mysterious ancestral star in the human realm was facing a catastrophe. The alien races had surrounded the ancestral star from all directions. The huge ancestral star was extremely eye-catching among the endless stars. It was a green planet. The ancestral star was so huge that even a sage would need a long time to travel across the entire ancestral star. Moreover, there were some places on the ancestral star that even a sage would not dare to set foot on. What's going on? Where did these alien races come from? The upper echelons of the Heavenly South Sword faction gathered in a palace on a sacred mountain in the primordial ancestral star. The Heavenly South Sword faction was one of the top forces in the Heavenly South continent. The Sword Master, Mo Tianyi, was the #1 expert in sword principle in the Heavenly South continent. Sword Master, should we make a move? A white-haired elder asked the Sword Master of Heavenly South, who was sitting on a throne in the main hall. They're just alien races. There's no need for us to make a move. The others will chase them away. The Sword Master of Heavenly South said disapprovingly. That's true. Let's just watch the show. Another elder said with a smile. In their opinion, this was not the first time the alien races had invaded the human realm. No matter how strong the alien races were, they would not be able to break through the defensive formation of the primordial ancestral star. This peerless formation that enveloped the entire planet could even block an extreme-grade supremacy. Although the foreign tribes were strong, they probably didn't have an extreme-grade sovereign. Furthermore, even if there was an extreme-grade sovereign in the foreign tribes, that extreme-grade sovereign wouldn't dare to make a move against them. The human realm had the power of heavenly punishment. At this moment, the entrance of the primordial ancestral star was filled with cultivators who wanted to enter the planet. It was actually not that troublesome to enter the primordial ancestral star. However, once the defensive formation of the primordial ancestral star was activated, it would be very troublesome to enter the planet. Currently, there were only 4 entrances to enter the primordial ancestral star. Those 4 entrances were the legendary 4 great heavenly gates: north, south, west, and west. Each of the 4 heavenly gates was guarded by an ancient city. Those who wanted to enter the primeval ancestral star had to enter the ancient city first, and the heavenly gate was in the central square of the ancient city. However, the gate of heaven was closed at this moment. Once the gate of heaven was closed, it could not be opened from the outside. Therefore, the 4 great ancient cities were now filled with cultivators. Why did you close the heavenly gate at this time? Quick, let us in. In the square of Nantian City, countless cultivators were furious. They had all escaped from the star regions near the primordial ancestral planet. The alien races from the outer space swept across the entire star region, devouring everything wherever they went. Countless races were exterminated. This was also a disaster for the human race. Because the human race was the strongest race in the mortal dimension, and it was the race with the largest population. Experts emerged in large numbers, and they were the absolute main characters of the mortal dimension. Boom! Right at this moment, a loud bang sounded out, and the entire Nantian city shook. What's going on? Have the alien tribes from the outer space arrived? A terrifying and tense atmosphere immediately enveloped the entire Nantian city. Countless people were terrified. The alien tribes from the outer space treated them as food. No one wanted to become food for the alien tribes. Boom! Another loud bang was heard. Outside Nantian City, there was actually a huge creature attacking Nantian City, and its violent power shook heaven and earth. However, such a powerful force still could not shake the Guardian formation. Master, what should we do? In a simple room in an inn in Nantian City, a girl in purple clothes said to another young woman. Let's wait and see. The woman did not say anything else. There were 2 young men in the room. Haha, you're dead. Come out and let me eat you. A wave of divine will directly penetrated the Guardian formation from the outside and entered Nantian City. This, everyone was inexplicably shocked. Don't be so arrogant. A voice came from the City Lord's mansion. The next moment, a beam of divine light directly flew out from the City Lord's mansion and directly pierced the head of the creature that was attacking Nantian City. The alien race creature that was even larger than a mountain died just like that. What, at this time, all the cultivators in the entire Nantian City were dumbfounded. They did not expect there to be such a powerful being in Nantian City. Roar! At this moment, an angry roar came from the distant starry sky. Then, countless figures appeared in the sky. A terrifying and monstrous evil aura spread out. Everyone was extremely shocked. Are they going to get serious? Such words came from the city lord's mansion. Boom. Soon, the terrifying figure directly hit the guardian formation of Nantian City. Amidst the loud bang, the entire giant city shook. What? Countless cultivators in the city were extremely terrified. At this time, not only Nantian City, but also the places where the other heaven gates were located were under attack. The alien tribes from the outer space finally made their move. However, in the ancient cities where the other heaven gates were located, there were also unimaginably powerful beings guarding them. Therefore, a great battle broke out. For a moment, the sky was filled with battle cries. When Jiu Fei arrived near the primordial ancestral star and saw this scene, he could not help but be moved. Little one, don't you look where you're going? Come here. At this time, in Nantian City, a young girl ran into an old man. This old man was like a raging fire. He stretched out his hand and directly grabbed the young girl in purple. A black hole seemed to have appeared in his palm. A devouring power instantly enveloped the young girl in purple, trying to pull her over. However, the young girl in purple was as still as a mountain. No matter how strong the wind was, it could not move her at all. What? The old man was shocked. Dragon catcher hand? You're from the Mo family? Unfortunately, you can't catch a dragon like me. The young girl smiled indifferently. She was Yang Er. She was ordered by her master to see if the heaven gate had opened, but she did not expect to bump into this old man. In fact, the old man was rash, so the two of them collided. It was obvious that this old man was very unhappy and wanted to take out his anger on Yang Er. The old man could not help but be moved. He no longer held back. In the next moment, the devouring power from his palm suddenly increased by 10 times. Eat my fist. Yang Er roared. She took a step forward and punched the old man with a featherlight punch. She's crazy. How dare she attack the second elder? Seeing this scene, everyone in the square was so shocked that their jaws dropped to the ground. This old man was the second elder of the Mo family, and he had a relationship with the city lord, Mo Tianyi. Moreover, the second elder's cultivation was second only to the city lord, Mo Tianyi. In everyone's opinion, Yang Er was really bold and did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. She dared to attack Crazy Mo. She was simply courting death. Even Crazy Mo's face showed a trace of disdain. He instantly increased the strength of his hand. Bang! At this moment, under everyone's incredulous gaze, Yang Er's fist and Crazy Mo's palm collided, making a muffled sound. Yang Er had actually blocked Crazy Mo's blow. This time, Crazy Mo could not help but be moved. He only felt a strong force coming from his hand, shaking his arm until it was sore. However, at this moment, Crazy Mo suddenly saw a strange smile on Yang Er's face. What? Crazy Mo was taken aback. In the next moment, Yang Er's right foot fiercely stomped on the ground. The entire ground immediately cracked open. At the same time, she exhaled and let out a thunderous roar. She instantly concentrated all the strength in her body into her right fist. Then, Crazy Mo felt a violent force that seemed to come from ancient times erupt from the opponent's fist. In the next moment, Crazy Mo's entire body was sent flying. The scalp-tingling sound of bones breaking rang out. One punch shakes the universe. Yang Er's voice reached the ears of all the cultivators in the square. All the cultivators in the square were stunned. Everyone was dumbfounded. An expert like Crazy Mo could not even block a punch from this little girl. How was this possible? Everyone in the square felt like they were in a dream. They only felt that everything was so unreal. One had to know that Crazy Mo was the second elder of the Mo family, a saint emperor. Yang Er actually defeated Crazy Mo with one punch. This was simply a miracle. Little girl, you dare to injure our second elder? Are you courting death? Just as everyone was in a daze, an angry roar came from afar. Another old man rushed over like a bolt of lightning. He had not yet arrived, but his voice was like thunder in everyone's ears. Everyone in the square was instantly shaken out of their shock by this thunderous roar. "I'm courting death." Yang Er stared at the newcomer, her eyes incomparably sharp. "What? Do you want to beat me up too?" the newcomer said angrily. His cultivation was not something that Crazy Mo could compare to. "This is the Mo family's grand elder," someone exclaimed. "The Mo family's grand elder? This little girl is in deep trouble." Someone sighed. The Mo family's grand elder was not someone that Crazy Mo, the second elder, could compare to. "Enough." At that moment, a dignified voice rang out. A figure had appeared in the sky and was looking over at them. City Lord. When everyone saw that person, they hurriedly bowed. "This is a matter of life and death for our family, and you dare to rebel? What a scandal." The person swept his gaze over the crowd and said coldly. Even the Mo family's grand elder and second elder's expressions changed. "City Lord, it's this little girl," someone wanted to say more. "I said enough, didn't you hear me?" the City Lord said in a deep voice. "Little girl, you should leave." The City Lord looked at Yang Er and waved his hand. Chapter 42:20. The Mo family was a powerful force in Nantian City, but it was ruled by one person, Mo Tianyi, the City Lord of Nantian City. Mo Tianyi was the most powerful man in the Mo family. Even the chief elder and the second elder did not dare to act presumptuously in front of him. Mo Tianyi was the reason the Mo family was so powerful on the ancestral planet. Without Mo Tianyi, the Mo family would immediately be destroyed or swallowed by other forces. This was the law of the jungle. Only the strong could laugh at the top of the world, and the weak could only be vassals. Therefore, when Mo Tianyi appeared, even the chief elder and the second elder of the Mo family had to bow their heads. Instead of leaving, Yang Er questioned Mo Tianyi, the City Lord of Nantian City. "You are the City Lord of Nantian City. Why did you close the southern heaven gate and stop us from entering the ancestral planet?" This little girl, the people around them were shocked. Many of them were worried for Yang Er. After all, the person in the sky was the City Lord of Nantian City. The City Lord controlled the life and death of all living beings in the city. Who would dare to speak to the City Lord like that? Newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Some of the older cultivators looked at Yang Er and murmured, "I'm afraid that this little girl has the support of an incredible existence behind her." Someone said something like that. The superclans, sects, and dynasties on the ancestral planet were all superforces that could dominate a region. The heirs of these forces often came out to train. These descendants were all people with unique skills and countless shocking methods. Even the older cultivators did not want to offend them, so they had to be careful when dealing with them. Many people thought that Yang Er was an heir from one of the superforces on the ancestral planet. Otherwise, why would she dare to speak to Mo Tianyi like that? "Whether the heaven gate is closed or not has nothing to do with me." Mo Tianyi took one look at Yang Er, then disappeared into thin air. What did he mean? Yang Er was baffled. Could it be that the City Lord couldn't even control the gate of Heaven's Gate? At this time, outside Nantian City, countless alien races gathered from all directions. Each of these alien races was extremely fierce and powerful. There were so many alien races that the entire starry sky was filled with their figures. Brutal, ominous aura filled every inch of the void. Even with the barrier of the defensive formation, the living beings on the primordial ancestral star still felt their hearts palpitating. The alien races from outer space are invading us. Countless cultivators in Nantian City were shocked to the extreme when they saw this. Among those alien races, there were quite a few alien races that were as huge as mountains. Their bodies were emitting terrifying, monstrous killing intent. These killing intents were much stronger than that of the alien race from before. What's going on? There was a wave of panic in Nantian City. This was not a good thing for everyone in the city. Boom! Another loud sound rang out and the entire Nantian City shook. A terrifying aura surged in from outside the city, causing countless cultivators in the city to feel inexplicably terrified. "You're courting death." A loud shout came from the City Lord's residence. Then, a beam of divine light pierced through the void and pierced the alien beast that was attacking Nantian City outside the defensive formation. Roar! The exotic beast roared, and a blood-red light flashed. The figure had actually pierced through the exotic beast's body. Although the alien creature was powerful, it was still seriously injured and retreated. "Huh!" There was a cry of surprise from the city lord's residence. Someone was surprised that the blow did not kill the alien beast. At this time, countless alien races from outer space pounced on Nantian City. In the next moment, a dense sound of collisions was heard. The alien races directly hit the invisible shield formed by the power of the defensive formation. Suddenly, there was a bloody light, and countless wild alien beasts were directly shocked to death. They fell from the sky, and the smell of blood filled the air. It was nauseating. Countless cultivators in Nantian City were shocked to see this scene. These guys really don't want to live anymore. The power of the defensive formation was extremely powerful. It was definitely not easy to break the formation and kill their way in. Otherwise, the alien races from outer space would not have besieged the primordial ancestral planet for more than a decade and only made a move today. However, soon, the cultivators in the city found that the blood of the alien races could actually corrode the light shield formed by the power of the defensive formation. The cultivators in the city could not stay calm. No wonder these guys rushed up without a care for their lives. It turned out that there was something wrong with their blood. What should we do? Once these guys kill their way in, we'll all be finished. What are you afraid of? With the city lord here, what can these alien races do? However, although those who forced themselves to stay calm said that they were not afraid, they were extremely terrified. After all, everyone only had one life. If they died, everything would be over. At this time, on a planet tens of thousands of miles away from the primordial ancestral planet, Gu Fei stood above a ruin and looked at the primordial ancestral planet from afar. This ruin was surrounded by the smell of blood. Around the ruin, there were more than a dozen alien beasts lying on the ground. Without exception, these alien beasts had all been killed with a single blow. Naturally, Gu Fei was the only one who could do that. The alien races from outer space are attacking the primordial ancestral planet. Although Gu Fei was experienced and knowledgeable, he could not help but be shocked. There were too many alien races from outer space. The entire starry sky in front of him was filled with the figures of these alien races. No wonder these guys could sweep the entire star region. Let's wait and see. At this time, Gu Fei had already sensed Gu Ling's existence. His daughter was near the primordial ancestral planet. This was a kind of bloodline reaction. There was a teleportation formation on the planet where Gu Fei was. This teleportation formation could send people to the 4 great ancient cities of the primordial ancestral planet. However, the teleportation formation on this planet had already been destroyed. The location of the teleportation formation was right below Gu Fei. The teleportation formation had already been reduced to ruins. A great war broke out. All the alien races came out and attacked the 4 great sky cities at the same time. For a moment, the sky was filled with shouts and countless cultivators were shocked. The blood of the alien races could corrode the power of the Great Protective Formation. As time passed, the 4 great sky cities would not be able to hold on. The consequences would be dire. Kill. In Dongtian City, a door suddenly appeared on the light shield. Then, a group of soldiers charged out. Everywhere they passed, blood and flesh flew. The appearance of this divine army directly tore a gap in the countless extraterrestrial beasts. Once the killing formation of tens of thousands of Dongtian City's celestial soldiers was activated, even sages had to retreat. As the killing formation of tens of thousands of celestial soldiers swept across, countless alien beasts fell from the sky like dumplings. The scene was extremely bloody. However, no one sympathized with these xenorace experts because these xenorace experts were ferocious to the extreme. Everywhere they passed, all living beings in the starry sky would suffer calamity and be eaten by them. Compared to Dongtian City's attack, Nantian City, Northern City, and Western City all directly activated their great protective formations, allowing the alien beasts outside to attack wildly. Once the great protective formations of the 4 great sky cities were activated, they could communicate with the universe and draw in endless power. Mere alien beasts could not threaten the cultivators in the great sky cities at all. However, this time, there were extremely powerful exotic beasts among the exotic beasts. Whoosh! At that moment, an extremely sharp blood-colored light suddenly rushed out from the countless alien beasts and directly hit the light shield of Nantian City. The blood-colored light exploded. Although it did not corrode the light shield formed by the power of the Great Protective Formation, all the cultivators in the city were scared out of their wits. At that moment, among the countless alien races, beams of blood-colored light shot into the sky and fell toward Nantian City. The other 3 great sky cities did the same. The blood-colored light filled the sky and all fell toward the 4 great sky cities. Rumble! The 4 great sky cities kept shaking. Catcher! The sound of something breaking came from the sky above Nantian City. What? The thing that countless cultivators in the city feared the most had happened. Cracks appeared on the light shield. How could this be? Master, the Great Protective Formation is going to be broken? On the square of Nantian City, among the countless cultivators, Gulling, Yang Meng Long, and Zhao Hao stood in a corner. They looked very inconspicuous among the countless cultivators. Cough, cough. Gulling suddenly coughed a few times. Her face was a little sallow, as if she was injured. Master, are you okay? Yang was shocked to see this. Damn the celestial humans. Meng Long clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. It was the celestial humans who injured Gulling. The celestial humans were a powerful race on the Primeval ancestral planet. The reason why Gulling was injured was because when she was training on the Primeval ancestral planet, she fought with the young master of the celestial humans for a divine herb in a spiritual land. The young master of the celestial humans was no match for Gulling and was forced to flee. However, the young master of the celestial humans called the masters of the clan to besiege Gulling. In order to protect Yang and the others, Gulling was injured by the masters of the celestial humans. Are you okay, senior sister? Zhao Hao asked worriedly. There were also people from the celestial clan in the square of Nantian City, but at this time, everyone's attention was on the barbaric beasts outside, so those guys from the celestial clan didn't notice Gulling. I'm fine. I can feel that father is nearby. Gulling suddenly said. What? Zhao Hao and the others were surprised and overjoyed. Master is nearby. How is that possible? Zhao Hao said in disbelief. However, Gulling was never one to brag. If she said that her master was nearby, then her master must be nearby. The celestial humans are in trouble now that her master is here. The fact that the celestial humans had injured Gulling had touched Ji Yufei's bottom line. To Ji Yufei, family was more important than anything else. Boom. Chapter 42-21. Nantian City on the primordial ancestral star had been breached. With an earth-shattering bang, a large hole was blasted in the protective divine light above Nantian City, and countless alien races immediately rushed into the hole. While everyone was still in shock, hundreds of alien beasts had rushed into Nantian City. You're courting death. At this moment, a sneer came from the city lord's mansion. The next moment, countless sword lights rushed out of the mansion and instantly pierced through hundreds of alien beasts. The bodies of the alien beasts fell from the sky like dumplings. With just one blow, hundreds of alien beasts were killed instantly. This kind of sword principle cultivation was absolutely terrifying. Tiannan City was an ancient city on the primordial ancestral star that guarded Tiannan. It had existed for countless years, and the city lord, Mo Tianyi, was extremely powerful. Mo Tianyi also had a frightening identity. He was actually the sword master of the Nantian sword faction. The Tiannan sword principle is really powerful. Someone could not help but exclaim when he saw this scene. The countless sword lights instantly pierced through the bodies of hundreds of alien beasts. Everyone felt the temperature around them drop. One sword light froze the world. At this time, Tiannan City was in chaos. Countless cultivators rushed toward the city lord's mansion because the city lord could protect them. To become the city lord of an ancient city like Nantian City, he must have extraordinary abilities. The Nantian sword faction was one of the strongest forces in the southern territory of the primordial ancestral star. Boom! At this time, a shocking sound came from the sky. Countless Tao patterns intertwined in the sky, and the big hole in the sky was repairing itself and gradually becoming smaller. Roar. The roars of the alien beasts were earth-shattering. Compared to the countless alien beasts, the hundreds of alien beasts that had just been killed were negligible. At this time, the overwhelming alien beasts rushed toward Nantian City. They wanted to rush into Nantian City and enjoy the blood and flesh. Countless cultivators in Nantian City were shocked when they saw this scene. Once the alien beasts came in, many people would die. Just as the alien beasts were about to rush into Tiannan City through the big hole in the sky, a figure appeared in front of the big hole. That is, everyone in the city looked at the figure in the sky in shock. That person was dressed in white and had a slender figure. He carried an ancient sword on his back and gave off an otherworldly aura. Could it be Mo Tianxiong from the Mo family? Someone in the city exclaimed. Mo Tianxiong was Mo Tianyi's younger brother. His cultivation level was close to his elder brother's. This Mo clan does have some ability. In a corner of the square in front of the City Lord Mansion, Gulling said indifferently. She had been injured and hadn't fully recovered. Compared to Master, what is the Mo family? Zhao Hao said indifferently. Everyone nodded in agreement. There was no doubt about Ji Yufei's strength. At this moment, Mo Tianxiong, who was in the sky, made his move. He waved his right hand in the void, and in the next moment, countless swords rushed out from his body. Each sword light was powerful enough to tear the void of heaven and earth. The next moment, countless wild beasts fell from the sky, most of them smashing into the city. At this time, the atmosphere in Tiannan City was extremely tense. Mo Tianxiong had actually single-handedly blocked countless otherworldly beasts that were charging towards him. Everyone who saw this scene was stunned. However, soon, a huge beast claw directly reached out from the depths of the starry sky, directly falling towards Nantian City. Boom! With a loud noise, the beast claw directly slammed into the protective formation of Nantian City. In the next moment, countless cracks appeared on the light shield that enveloped the entire Nantian City, as if it could collapse at any time. The most powerful existence among the otherworldly beasts finally made a move. The attack just now was only a test. Mo Tianxiong was directly smacked down from the sky by the beast claw. Boom! Mo Tianxiong directly smashed a pavilion as he fell from the sky, causing dust to fly everywhere. Let's go together and stop the beast. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked out of the City Lord Mansion, staring at the otherworldly beasts in the sky with a gloomy expression. Kill. The dozen experts behind the middle-aged man did not hesitate and immediately rushed up from behind him, roaring. Roar. At this moment, more than a dozen extremely powerful beast kings appeared in the sky. A brawny man who looked like a black iron tower directly collided with a beast king that was charging at him. In the next moment, the beast king was directly sent flying, and the sound of bones breaking could be heard from its body. With a boom, it directly smashed into the protective light shield like a cannonball, and then fell to the ground. What? Everyone was shocked. This brawny man's physical body was actually so strong that he could actually contend with the beast kings of the otherworldly beasts. At this moment, the brawny man was like a tiger that had entered a flock of sheep. All they saw was him smashing the head of a beast king into its chest with a palm strike, and with a shoulder strike, he directly sent another beast king flying with blood spurting from its mouth. Then, with a flip of his right hand, a ghost head broadsword appeared in his hand. With a flash of the broadsword, 2 beast kings' heads flew up. In just an instant, in just 2 breaths, this brawny man had killed 4 major beast kings. This was simply a miracle. The beast kings of the otherworldly tribes were too weak in front of this brawny man. At this moment, the other beast kings were stunned by the combat strength displayed by the brawny man who looked like a black iron tower. How is this possible? The other beast kings stared at the brawny man in front of them, and their pupils involuntarily shrank. The combat strength displayed by the brawny man had far exceeded their expectations. Come over and die. The brawny man crooked his finger at the remaining beast kings and said coldly. A cold murderous intent emanated from his body, and the surrounding temperature rapidly dropped. Such a strong murderous nature. Countless cultivators in Tiannan City were inexplicably shocked. Only those demons who were numb to killing could erupt with such a strong murderous nature. This brawny man was definitely not a demon. Little guy, a wave of divine will was transmitted, and the brawny man's expression immediately changed. Although this brawny man was shocked, he knew that these beast kings were not to be trifled with. This brawny man was very strong, and when his strength reached a certain level, he could ignore the lack of a cultivation level. This was the so-called one strong man can defeat 10 skilled men. Roar. The remaining 7 beast kings roared at the same time and rushed toward the brawny man. At the same time, some of the beast kings directly opened their mouths and spat out poisonous flames at the brawny man. At this moment, the others retreated to the side and watched the battle from the side. The brawny man, Tai Zhon, directly slashed with his saber. At this moment, an exotic beast king covered in golden scales charged forward. Clang! The divine saber in Tai Zhon's hand slashed the beast king's body fiercely. He only felt a wave of power rebound, and the place where he was slashed did not even leave a mark. Tai Zhon's saber slashed a second time. Clang! The saber in his hand actually broke into 2, but the beast king was not injured at all. Everyone was inexplicably shocked. This beast king was actually so strong that it was impervious to swords and spears. Even Tai Zhon could not break through the scales on this beast king's body. Tai Zhon threw away the broken half of the saber in his hand, then clenched his 5 fingers and punched at the beast king. Bang! Tai Zhon's fist collided with the beast king, producing a muffled sound like thunder. A powerful wave of Yuan Qi immediately spread out in all directions with the 2 experts as the center. Roar! The beast king roared angrily, and an even more powerful wave of energy erupted from its body. At this moment, Tai Zhon took a step forward and instantly caught up to the beast king that was sent flying. He then punched out, and an explosive sound immediately rang out in the void. This was the sound produced by the rapid movement of the fist, which shook the void. It was enough to show how fast Tai Zhon's punch was. Bang! A muffled sound was accompanied by the beast king's miserable cry. With a boom, the beast king was directly sent flying tens of thousands of feet away. Everyone was stunned by this scene. The wind has risen. At this moment, Mo Tianxiong rushed out. He used his finger as a sword and waved it 7 times without anyone noticing. 7 invisible sword qis blew past like a light breeze, attacking the 7 beast kings at the same time. The sword qis spread out tens of thousands of feet. How is this possible? Is he actually a quasi-supreme? An old man in the city murmured to himself in shock. If he knew that Mo Tianxiong's sword qis could spread out tens of thousands of miles when he went all out, he would probably be stunned. Mo Tianxiong was very strong, but the beast kings were not to be trifled with. His sword qis slashed at the beast kings, but they could not break through their defenses. He was the 2nd strongest expert in Nantian City, but he could not do anything to these beast kings. Bang! 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 At this moment, heavy footsteps rang out, like a hammer pounding on everyone's hearts. The 9-foot-tall Mo Tianyi walked out of the city lord's residence. He strode forward, leaving a deep footprint on the ground with every step he took. He was like a huge mountain, pressing down on the beast kings in the sky. Chapter 42-22. The alien tribes had turned out in full force to invade the primordial ancestral star. Countless alien beasts covered the entire starry sky and surrounded the huge primordial ancestral star. The primordial ancestral star was so huge that an astonishing number of alien beasts would be needed to surround the entire primordial ancestral star. Ji Fei had been watching from afar. He was not in a hurry to make a move. In fact, as soon as he arrived near the primordial ancestral star, he had sensed an extremely powerful but extremely obscure aura in Nantian City. Ji Fei was once an eternal realm invincible master, so his perception was very strong. Of course, Ji Fei could sense the existence of the other party, but the other party could not sense the existence of Ji Fei. This was Ji Fei's advantage. At this time, Nantian City was finally breached by the alien tribes. The 12 alien beast kings made a strong appearance, but Tai Zhon alone killed 4 beast emperors. Of course, the 4 beast emperors killed by Tai Zhon were the weakest beast kings, not the strongest beast emperors. As for the beast emperor that Mo Tianxiong was fighting, it was the true king of beasts. Its entire body was covered in golden scales, giving it an astonishing defensive power. Even a sacred artifact would find it difficult to leave a mark on it. Boom! One of the 7 exotic beast kings, a scarlet-furred exotic beast king, let out a furious roar. A terrifying ball of divine fire erupted from its body. A saint fighting with this alien beast king was directly swallowed by the divine fire. The saint only let out a scream before he was burned to death. All the saints in the vicinity gasped when they witnessed this scene, and they hurriedly moved aside. This was a divine fire that could burn saints to death. The Crimson Flame Beast was one of the top experts among the 12 alien beast kings. As soon as it attacked, half the sky was burned red. It was extremely terrifying. The remaining 7 alien beast kings were extremely powerful. The 4 alien beast kings killed by Taizhong could not be compared to them. These 7 alien beast kings were the kings of beasts. As a result, the saints of Nantian City were unlucky. The Crimson Flame Beast, the Gold Essence Beast, and the Violent Ape were all capable subordinates of the otherworldly beast sovereign. The Outer Sky Beast was peerless and powerful. Since ancient times, it had always wanted to invade the primordial ancestral star and conquer the entire primordial ancestral star. It wanted to conquer the world and become invincible. However, the waters of the mortal dimension were extremely deep. Since ancient times until now, there seemed to be no one capable of becoming an invincible existence in the mortal dimension. At that moment, the 7 exotic beast kings forced the experts of Nantian City to retreat. The Crimson Flame Beast, in particular, was extremely ferocious. The Metal Essence Beast, on the other hand, had its eyes on Mo Tianxiong. It was hard to tell who would emerge victorious in a short period of time. The Violent Ape stared at Taizhong. Just as the saints of Nantian City retreated, Nantian City Lord Mo Tianyi finally made his move. Boom! With a wave of Mo Tianyi's hand, the Metal Essence Beast that was fighting Mo Tianxiong was immediately sent flying. Its body, which was surrounded by golden light, actually exploded. When the other exotic beast kings saw this scene, they were all stunned. The Metal Essence Beast was their boss. If even their boss was no match for it, then they were even less capable. "I'll send you on your way," Mo Tianyi said as he stretched out his right hand. A ball of divine light rushed out of his hand. With a bang, the ball of divine light exploded. 7 streaks of shocking sword chi directly pierced through the 7 exotic beast kings at an extremely fast speed. Mo Tianyi was the sword master of the Nantian sword sect. Most of his cultivation was based on that sword. At that moment, there was a flash of blood. The 7 exotic beast kings were all hit. One of the exotic beast kings screamed and fell from the sky. Just as the exotic beast king fell into the city, its corpse was snatched clean in the next moment. This was just one move from Mo Tianyi. Even so, the 7 exotic beast kings were still seriously injured. Roar! An earth-shattering roar came from the horizon. A huge figure appeared in the starry sky. The figure was much larger than the stars. The figure was quickly moving toward the primordial ancestral star. An extremely powerful pressure spread out in all directions. At that moment, only the Metal Essence Beast, the Roaring Flame Beast, and the Violent Ape escaped. The other exotic beast kings had already died under Mo Tianyi's attack. "You think you can escape?" Mo Tianyi sneered. He directly turned into an immortal sword light and soared into the sky. In an instant, he caught up with the Metal Essence Beast. The next moment, the divine light directly passed through the Metal Essence Beast's body. Then, there was nothing. Golden blood sprinkled from the sky. An unpleasant smell of blood filled the air. The immortal sword light fell from the sky and turned into a human figure. "You're courting death." The gigantic beast directly slapped its palm towards Mo Tianyi. A violent force surged down from that huge palm, causing the void to tremble. Mo Tianyi once again turned into a sword light and soared into the sky. He directly pierced through the big hand and blood splattered. The giant beast was enraged to the extreme. Jiu Fei had killed 12 of its divine generals one after another. Only the Violent Ape and the Roaring Flame Beast were left. Its heart was bleeding. The beast venerable of the foreign tribe finally attacked. The beast shadow transformed into a human form. It was a young man with a head of white hair. This young man was the beast venerable of the foreign tribe. He was extremely powerful. His right hand was dripping blood. At that moment, the white-haired beast venerable roared angrily and pushed his feet on the ground. With a bang, the ground under his feet immediately sank, forming a big pit. The next moment, he shot up into the sky like an arrow. With one leap, he jumped thousands of feet. Under everyone's extremely shocked gazes, he directly rushed toward Mo Tianyi. At that moment, Jiu Fei also came nearby. He did not show himself and could only watch the battle from the side. Mo Tianyi directly retreated. "Ch, you don't dare to fight me? Then I'll kill all your subordinates." As he spoke, the white-haired beast venerable directly rushed into the tens of thousands of soldiers of Nantian City and attacked without restraint. With a sweep of his hand, the saber-light soared for 1,000 feet, and the thousands of armored soldiers in front of him were cut in half. Then, he directly sent dozens of soldiers flying with a backhand slap. Then, he leaped up and directly stomped a general into the ground. The white-haired beast venerable was like a tiger that had entered a flock of sheep. With a wave of his hand, a large number of soldiers were either killed or injured. In just the time of 5 breaths, tens of thousands of soldiers of Nantian City had been directly killed by him. The generals who were leading the troops were scared out of their wits. They had never seen such a powerful and ferocious person. He was actually able to fight against an army with his own strength. "Retreat! Retreat quickly!" Several generals immediately ordered a retreat. How could they still fight? "It's too late. Go to hell!" The white-haired beast venerable roared angrily and directly charged towards a general. Wherever he passed, it was like an ancient giant elephant running wildly, and all the soldiers in his way were knocked away. He directly rushed to the front of the general and raised his hand. With a chop of his hand, the general's head flew into the air. The white-haired beast venerable was like a peerless god of slaughter that had descended into the world. In less than 10 breaths, he had actually killed tens of thousands of soldiers and scattered them in disorder. Run! The soldiers of Nantian City were defeated. The remaining soldiers were already scared out of their wits and directly fled in all directions. The white-haired beast venerable took a deep breath, and all the primordial chi in his body surged like a raging sea. Powerful primordial chi waves spread from his body, causing sand and stones to fly and the sun and moon to lose their light. Heavenly Sword 10 kills, first strike, killing of wind and cloud. At that moment, Mo Tianyi exhaled and shouted. The next moment, a storm of sword chi rushed out of his body and slashed at the white-haired beast venerable. With Mo Tianyi at the center, the area within a radius of several thousand feet was a mess, as if it had been blown by a storm. The ground was covered with densely packed sword marks. The powerful sword chi could not hurt the white-haired beast venerable at all. Everything where the white-haired beast venerable stood was destroyed. Apart from the beast venerable, even the surrounding trees and rocks were smashed by the storm-like sword chi. The two fellows were evenly matched, and neither could do anything to the other. It was very difficult to determine a winner. At that moment, Mo Tianyi's heart was bleeding. These were the soldiers of Tiannan that he had painstakingly trained, but today, they had been beaten to a pulp. "Go to hell!" Mo Tianyi roared madly and attacked the white-haired beast venerable again. Powerful sword wei power erupted, and every sword light tore through the void. However, a ball of divine light emerged from the white-haired beast venerable's body and blocked all the sword lights. Mo Tianyi was inexplicably shocked. Even the spectators were dumbfounded. The white-haired beast venerable had actually cultivated such a mystique. Wouldn't it be invincible in the world? It was unbelievable that someone as strong as Mo Tianyi, the sword master of the Southern Sky Sword sect, could not break the defense of the white-haired beast venerable. If they had not witnessed it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it. In particular, Mo Tianyi's Sky Sword 10 slaughters was a cultivation technique that he had created himself. It was a quasi-supreme cultivation technique. In the human realm, as long as the supremes did not appear, it was already a top-notch cultivation technique. This was only the first move of the Sky Sword 10 Slaughters, and it was just a starting move, but its power was earth-shattering. However, such a powerful move could not do anything to the white-haired beast Venerable. This shocked and angered him. This was his strongest move. Ji Yufei saw this scene from afar and shook his head. Mo Tiany's sword was still lacking. If he could comprehend it, he would be able to reach the sky in a single bound. He did not want to give Mo Tiany pointers on the sword. At that moment, the two experts started fighting again. This time, they were fighting with their lives on the line. However, the white-haired beast Venerable possessed a near-invincible mystique. No matter how Mo Tiany attacked, he could not break through the defense of the white-haired beast Venerable. The white-haired beast Venerable was already in an invincible position. Chapter 42-23. The white-haired beast Sovereign transformed into his human form and fought against the city lord of Nantian City, Mo Tiany. The two experts represented the strongest existences in their respective domains. Mo Tiany was the #1 swordsman in the southern part of the ancestral primitive planet. With his sword in hand, he could break almost all spells. However, in Ji Yufei's opinion, Mo Tiany's swordsmanship cultivation was still lacking. Buzz! A sword chime came from Mo Tiany's body. A beam of sword light rushed out of his body and was grasped in his hand. The sword light dissipated, revealing a divine sword in Mo Tiany's hand. The divine sword was pitch black and shrouded in a layer of black light. The Black Crow Divine Sword? The cultivators of the older generation in Nantian City looked at the divine sword in Mo Tiany's hand in shock. As the sword master of the Nantian sword faction and a saint of swordsmanship, Mo Tiany naturally had a sword that belonged to him. Normally, Mo Tiany would not have had the opportunity to use the Black Crow Divine Sword, because he could kill his opponents without using it. However, things were different now. He was facing a heavenly beast sovereign, which was extremely powerful. He would not be able to defeat it without using a sword. At that moment, the white-haired beast sovereign pulled his hands in front of his chest. A battle spear immediately appeared in front of him. It was a red battle spear, and it exuded a terrifying murderous aura that made people's hearts palpitate. The white-haired beast sovereign stared at Mo Tiany fiercely. He wanted to burn this guy's bones and scatter his ashes. This was the guy who had killed the 10 beast kings under him. Only the violent ape king and the red flame beast king had survived. This was definitely a great loss for the white-haired beast sovereign. His power had been ruthlessly weakened. Compared to the other beast sovereigns, he was definitely at a disadvantage. Kill! The white-haired beast sovereign roared and attacked Mo Tiany. A beam of divine light immediately rushed out of the battle spear in his hand and pierced through Mo Tiany. Heaven Sword 10 Forms. Mo Tiany directly used his strongest killing technique. 10 beams of sword light shot up into the sky and converged into a peerless sword light that pierced through the white-haired beast sovereign. Wherever the sword light passed, the void was silently annihilated. The next moment, Mo Tiany's sword light collided with the white-haired beast sovereign's spear. The two extremely powerful forces collided and cancelled each other out. A terrifying energy storm immediately spread out. Two figures were moving at high speed, and their powerful auras spread out in all directions. At this time, the other 3 city gates still had not been breached. The people guarding the 4 great heavenly gates were all peerless experts. If they were to be released, these 4 experts would definitely be overlord-level existences. At this moment, Ji Yuling was finally found by the Mo family in Nantian City. This time, there was only a young man from the Celestial clan who came. This young man walked up to Ji Yuling and the others and sized them up. "Obediently surrender, and I'll leave your corpse intact," the red-browed young man said faintly. His aura had merged with the entire world, as if he was the sky and the earth. "Humph! Get lost." Ji Yuling didn't even look at him. At this moment, the surrounding people dispersed. "Is that red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable?" Someone cried out in surprise. Red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable is one of the strongest Saint Venerables in the Celestial clan. He's still alive. An expert of the older generation muttered to himself. "A Saint Venerable?" Zhao Hao, who was next to Ji Yuling, frowned. This guy in front of him was pitilessly powerful. Could it be that he couldn't escape from this calamity? Because Jiyu Ling was injured, Yang was not a saint venerable yet, and neither was Meng Long or himself. They could only pray that their master, Jiyu Fei, would come soon. Kill! Red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable roared angrily. Without any hesitation, he directly punched at Jiyu Ling. A violent power spread from his fist, causing the void to tremble. This, Zhao Hao and the others were shocked. Red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable's punch actually brought the power of the entire world to crush them. They couldn't withstand it at all. Just as they were about to be killed by red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable's punch, a hand suddenly reached out from the side. This hand grabbed red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable's punch. What? Everyone was inexplicably shocked. That was a punch from a Saint Venerable. This punch from red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable was definitely not something that an ordinary saint could withstand. However, red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable's punch was directly grabbed by someone. How is this possible? Even red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable himself was shocked. The next moment, red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable was pulled into the air by that hand. He wanted to retract his fist, but he found that his fist couldn't move at all. Bam! Catcher! Countless fist shadows flashed, and red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable screamed in pain. In just an instant, he didn't even know how many punches he had taken. He only felt as if all the bones in his body had been smashed by the other party. How dare you touch my family? Go to hell! That person roared angrily and punched with all his might, directly hitting red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable's chest. Bam! With a muffled sound, red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable was actually beaten up and turned into a cloud of blood mist. A divine light shot up into the sky, trying to escape. It was red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable's primordial spirit. At red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable's level of cultivation, as long as his primordial spirit wasn't destroyed, he could recover even if his physical body was destroyed. However, the next moment, another big hand reached out from the side and grabbed red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable's primordial spirit. Don't kill me. At that moment, red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable, who was usually high and mighty, was begging for mercy. Humph! That person sneered and completely ignored him. Then, he clenched his fist and the divine light directly exploded. A dignified Saint Venerable had actually died just like that. Father, Jiyu Ling looked at the figure in the sky. She was extremely excited. The person who had saved her from red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable's punch was her father, Jiyu Fei. Jiyu Ling hadn't seen Jiyu Fei for so many years, so she naturally missed her family very much. Now, her father had finally come. At that moment, Jiyu Fei flew down from the sky and came before Jiyu Ling. Not bad, you're very good. Jiyu Fei could see through Jiyu Ling's cultivation. Jiyu Ling was actually a Saint Venerable, but there seemed to be something wrong with her aura. Greetings, Master. Zhao Hao hurriedly knelt down as soon as he saw Jiyu Fei. Greetings, Grandmaster. Yang also knelt down. Greetings, Master. Meng Long was surprised and overjoyed. His master had finally come. All of you, get up. Jiyu Fei waved his big sleeves, and those who had knelt on the ground immediately stood up. Who injured you? Jiyu Fei's face immediately darkened. Who dared to injure his daughter? No matter who they were or how powerful they were dead meat. Injuring someone's family had already crossed Jiyu Fei's bottom line. Master, it was an old guy from the Celestial clan who injured senior sister. Before Jiyu Ling could say anything, Zhao Hao, who was standing at the side, spoke up. The Celestial clan? Jiyu Fei said angrily. It seemed that the Celestial clan didn't need to exist in this world anymore. I will definitely destroy the Celestial clan. This was the price of injuring Jiyu Ling. At that moment, two more figures walked out of the crowd and approached Jiyu Ling courting death. Chapter 42-24. The Celestial human tribe had been hunting Jiyu Ling and her companions. They had almost been caught by a great ancestor of the Celestial human tribe several times. A great ancestor of the Celestial human tribe was extremely powerful. It was said that he was already a quasi-supreme master. If Jiyu Ling did not have the human emperor's divine mace that Jiyu Fei gave her, she would not have been able to escape. However, even though Jiyu Ling was already a holy master, It was not easy for her to use the human emperor's divine mace. Every time she used it, her pneuma would be damaged. The pneuma needed to use the human emperor's divine mace was too huge. The celestial human tribe dared to hurt his family, which made Jiyu Fei extremely angry. He cared about his family the most. He would kill anyone who dared to hurt them. You killed Kai Mai. You deserve to die. The two people who walked out of the crowd were two old men. One of them was tall and thin. His arms were so long that they almost touched the ground. The other one was short and fat, like a meatball. The one who spoke was the bamboo-like old man. Humph. You deserve to die. Jiyu Fei stared at the two oddly shaped guys with a murderous look. Do you think you are invincible after killing Kai Mai? The short and fat old man said coldly. Humph, I don't know if I am invincible, but I am more than enough to kill you, Jiyu Fei said coldly, staring at them. How arrogant you are. The tall and thin old man said disapprovingly. Why are you talking nonsense with this guy? The short and fat old man said. He took a step forward and came in front of Jiyu Fei in an instant. Then, he punched at Jiyu Fei's chest directly. It looked like an ordinary punch, but the entire world shook because of the short and fat old man's punch. Bang! Jiyu Fei did not dodge, and he directly met the attack with a punch. With a muffled sound, the two fists collided in an instant, and a violent wave of power immediately spread out from the two fists. What? When the short and fat old man saw that Jiyu Fei had actually blocked his punch, and this person was as still as a mountain, he was actually unable to move this guy. Even the lanky old man was taken aback. Who is this guy? To think that he could block a punch from the fat elder of the Sky Human clan. Lower your voice. If that short fatty hears you, you're dead. In the distance, there were people speaking softly. These two elders from the Celestial clan were quite well known. When these two walked together, it was definitely a strange sight. Roar. The fat man roared angrily. His entire body shook as he exerted his strength. Compete. Jiyu Fei sneered. With a shake of his right arm, a violent force immediately erupted from his body. Boom. In a muffled thunder-like sound, the two figures instantly separated, and instantly rushed to kill each other, the two great powerhouses fighting endlessly. However, very soon, the short and fat elder could not hold on any longer and was forced to retreat by Jiyu Fei. Damn it! The lanky elder was both shocked and enraged. He pounced at Yi Futian right away. The fat and skinny elders of the Celestial clan worked together. The power of their spells could actually be stacked, and the terrifying power of the divine path enveloped Jiyu Fei right away. The skinny elder turned into a gust of chilly wind, blowing at Jiyu Fei. Wherever the chilly wind passed, hair-like cracks appeared in the void. A chilly aura spread out, and a layer of white frost immediately appeared on the ground. The spectators all retreated in fear. Some unlucky ones were a bit too slow and were immediately frozen, turning into ice sculptures. Everyone was terrified. On the other hand, the short and stout old man turned into a bolt of cold lightning that shot towards Jiyu Fei in an earth-shattering manner. Interesting. Faced with such a powerful attack, Jiyu Fei's fighting spirit was completely stimulated. Boom. In the next moment, a ball of divine light emerged from his chest. This ball of divine light directly enveloped him, Jiyu Ling, and the others. The chilly wind blew, but it was directly blocked by the ball of divine light. No matter how the chilly wind raged outside, the void under the divine light remained extremely calm. The eternal light could smelt the essence of heaven and earth. The power of the chilly wind was directly refined and devoured. What, in the chilly wind, the elder of the Celestial clan turned pale with fright. He could feel his power rapidly draining away. What kind of spell was this? It could actually devour a cultivator's power. At this moment, the all-encompassing cold lightning bombarded Jiyu Fei's light shield. In the next moment, the destructive cold lightning dissipated in the void and was devoured by the eternal light. How is this possible? The short and fat elder exclaimed. Cold lightning and sinister wind are going to be out of luck. In Nantian City, some elders sneered. Cold lightning and sinister wind were half-step ancestors of the Celestial clan. They had already taken that step, but had yet to become true quasi-supremes. Only when they became quasi-supremes could they become ancestor-level existences. They were only half-step ancestors. While Cold Lightning and Sinister Wind of the Celestial Clan were fighting with Jiyu Fei in Nantian City, Mo Qianni's battle with the white-haired beast sovereign was reaching its climax in the sky. Roar! The white-haired beast sovereign was fighting crazily. A terrifying pressure spread across the world, causing all living creatures to be extremely terrified. Boom! An enormous beast shadow emerged from the white-haired beast sovereign's body. A violent power burst out and directly sent Mo Qianni flying. Heavenly Sword 10 kills. Mo Qianni held the Black Crow Divine Sword in his hand. Endless sword chi rushed out of his body and turned into a terrifying sword light that could cut through the void, blocking the attack of the beast shadow. I am undefeatable. You are destined to die by my hands. The white-haired beast sovereign roared madly and the terrifying beast shadow pounced forward. The terrifying sword light hacked at the beast shadow and shattered it. Preposterous. Mo Qianni was truly shocked. The white-haired beast sovereign's divine skill is simply invincible. It can block any powerful attack, especially the power of the realm, which can block all attacks. Could it be that this animal has cultivated the legendary realm of nothingness? Mo Qianni was shocked. The legendary realm of nothingness could turn any attack into nothingness. Once the opponent's attack was turned into nothingness, they would naturally not be a threat to him. The beast shadow that the white-haired beast sovereign had transformed into instantly pounced in front of Mo Qianni. It extended its huge hand and directly grabbed at Mo Qianni. A black light rushed out of the beast shadow's sharp claws and pierced through the void like a peerless divine spear. Human and sword as one, 10 kills undefeatable. Chapter 42-25. Man and sword as one, 10 kills and invincible. Mo Qianni put his life on the line and directly displayed his strongest sword move. 10 sword moves combined into one, and an unprecedentedly powerful sword power appeared in the world. At that moment, Mo Qianni's figure had already disappeared. There was only a sword light left in the world, an almost immortal sword light. The terrifying sword power made the world lose its color. Invincible nothingness. The white-haired beast sovereign also became ruthless. He instantly disappeared into the void, without a trace. Mo Qianni was taken aback, but his sword power was all-pervasive. His sword will spread out, and the white-haired beast sovereign had nowhere to hide. Go to hell! Mo Qianni roared, and the terrifying sword light directly strangled the white-haired beast sovereign. Wherever the sword light passed, a pitch-black spatial crack was left in the void. The white-haired beast sovereign's cold laughter came from the void. Then, the two forces instantly collided. The sword light that Mo Qianni had transformed into broke through the white-haired beast sovereign's domain of nothingness. However, Mo Qianni's power was rapidly draining, and the immortal sword light quickly dimmed, which made him turn pale with fright. In the end, the sword light that Mo Qianni had transformed into stopped, unable to truly break through the white-haired beast sovereign's domain of nothingness. However, the domain of nothingness that the white-haired beast sovereign claimed to be able to dissolve all magic powers was unable to completely dissolve the sword light that Mo Qianni had transformed into. The two great experts were still evenly matched, and it was difficult for either to completely suppress the other. Rumble. The entire world was shaking. The power of such a peerless magic power was simply too shocking. Countless experts who were watching the battle in the surroundings retreated far away in fear. This was a battle between quasi-supreme experts. If they were affected, their bodies and souls would definitely be destroyed. If it wasn't for the formation protecting Nantian City, it probably would have been destroyed many times over. The pressure emitted by a quasi-supreme being was extremely powerful. Countless exotic beasts retreated far away, not daring to get close to them. In this way, the human clan in Nantian City had a chance to breathe. Boom! As the two powerhouses were locked in a stalemate, white-haired beast sovereign's nothingness domain exploded and Mo Qianni's swordlight instantly collapsed. Terrifying and monstrous power spread out in all directions. The void was directly annihilated, and a huge black hole appeared in the sky above Nantian City. This was an absolutely shocking scene. Even thousands of miles away, one could see the strange phenomenon in the sky above Nantian City. Everyone in Nantian City looked up at the sky, shocked to the extreme. These two fellows, Ji Yufei was fighting the celestial clans Yin Feng and Leng Dian. When he saw the black hole in the sky, he couldn't help but frown. The mortal realm space was far weaker than the primogenitor realms. The mortal realm was originally a perfect world, but after the great battle back then, the mortal realm was almost destroyed. From then on, the world was flawed, and it was difficult for a supreme being to be born again. No matter how heaven-defying an existence was, it was impossible to achieve the extreme Tao sovereign Tao fruit in the human realm. Cultivating to quasi-supremacy was already the limit. If one wanted to take that step towards supremacy, they would need to go to the heaven realm or other perfect great worlds. Now that there were no supreme beings, quasi-supremacy was invincible. Mo Tianyi and the extraterrestrial beast sovereign were both quasi-supremacy, and both were known to be invincible. However, who was truly invincible would only be known after a battle. At this time, the two figures each flew back hundreds of thousands of miles. Mo Tianyi was covered in blood, and some parts of his body were even bleeding. His sacred body was seriously injured. The white-haired beast sovereign didn't feel good either. He was almost beaten back to his original form. Even though he still maintained his human form, two black horns grew out of his head. Is this the rhythm of a lose-lose situation? The experts of the older generation looked at the two in shock. At this time, on the square of Nantian City, Ji Yufei was faintly discernible around Yin Feng and Leng Dian like a phantom, leaving behind a series of afterimages. This guy, Yin Feng and Leng Dian, the two half-martial ancestors, finally realized how powerful Ji Yufei was. What is Master doing? Zhao Hao was puzzled. With Master's cultivation, killing these two fellows was as easy as turning over his hand. Father is playing. Ji Yuling smiled. How could these two old fellows be a match for Master? Meng Long said. In his opinion, Ji Yufei was invincible. Alright, I'm done playing. Ji Yufei suddenly grinned. In the next moment, he struck out the almost invincible fist technique that he had yet to complete, the Eternal Fist. Bam! Ji Yufei punched Yin Feng's right eye and sent him flying. Die! Leng Dian arrived, and countless destructive electric lights instantly drowned Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei opened his mouth and inhaled. The destructive electric lights that filled the sky frantically gathered in his mouth and were directly swallowed by him. A faint electric light immediately appeared on his body. What? Leng Dian was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Right at this moment, a fist rapidly enlarged in the half-martial ancestor's eyes. Bam! Catcher! Ji Yufei's fist fiercely smashed into Leng Dian's nose and directly crushed it. Blood flowed from his nose, making him look extremely miserable. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this scene. Leng Dian and Yin Feng were famous experts, yet they couldn't defeat this black-clothed young man even after joining forces. Everyone was extremely curious and wanted to know where Ji Yufei came from. It's him. Someone looked at Ji Yufei in shock. It was an old man, an expert from the soaring dragon ancestral star. Die. Yin Feng and Leng Dian, the two half-martial ancestors, were completely enraged by Ji Yufei. They crazily attacked Ji Yufei. However, Ji Yufei's fists seemed to contain some kind of unimaginable power. Every punch he threw was able to directly hit the bodies of the two fellows. Soon, the two celestial clans' half-martial ancestors were smashed into pig heads by Ji Yufei's fists. Ooh! Leng Dian was shocked, angry, and anxious. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. They were usually high and mighty. When had they ever been in such a sorry state? Moreover, it was done in public. It would not take long for the news of the two celestial clans' half-martial ancestors to spread throughout the cultivation world. I'll send you on your way, Ji Yufei said loudly. In the next moment, his entire aura changed. A shocking murderous aura erupted from his body, and the temperature of the entire area dropped rapidly. It was as if Ji Yufei had turned into a peerless god of death in an instant. The murderous aura that erupted from his body was earth-shattering. Even a saint's expression would change upon seeing it. Chapter 42-26. The two half-ancestors of the celestial human clan, Yin Wind and Leng Dian, had a higher status than red-browed Saint Venerable. Moreover, red-browed Saint Venerable belonged to a different camp. The celestial human clan, which had existed for countless years, was the most ancient and powerful clan on the ancestral planet. They had once produced an invincible celestial being who could contend with an extreme-grade supremacy. In such a large clan, it was unavoidable to plot against each other. Although the red-browed Holy Exalted was killed by Ji Yufei, the two half-martial ancestors, Yin Feng and Leng Dian, did not pay much attention to it. However, the red-browed Holy Exalted was still a member of the primordial ancestral star's heavenly humans. Since Ji Yufei had killed red-browed Saint Venerable, Yin Wind and Leng Dian naturally had to show up. However, at that moment, Yin Feng and Leng Dian, the two half-martial ancestors, were filled with regret. Never did they expect Ji Yufei to be this powerful. Once Yin Wind and Leng Dian joined forces, even 10 red-browed Saint Venerables would not be a match for them. Because of this, Yin Wind and Leng Dian, the two half-ancestors of the celestial human clan, had dared to show up. They wanted to use Ji Yufei's blood to establish their prestige. The celestial human clan had been living in seclusion for too long. They needed some thunderous means to remind the world of the celestial human clan's strength. However, they had picked the wrong person. The celestial human clan had injured Ji Yuling and touched Ji Yufei's reverse scale. Ji Yufei would not show any mercy. Ji Yufei opened his mouth and inhaled. The countless destructive electric lights around him were all sucked into his body. Haha, I should be able to recover some of my cultivation after absorbing your power. Ji Yufei laughed loudly and directly pounced towards half-ancestor Yin Wind. What? Yin Wind was shocked. He turned into a gust of Yin Wind and retreated rapidly. However, Ji Yufei was faster than him. He caught up to half-martial ancestor Yin Wind with a single step and punched him in the chest. Ji Yufei had cultivated the 8 steps extreme speed, which allowed him to travel across the untainted land. He was so fast that he was almost invincible in the current world. Roar! Half-martial ancestor Yin Wind screamed. In the next moment, bang! With a bang, he exploded and turned into a bloody mist. Even his primordial spirit was scattered in the air. Ji Yufei opened his mouth and inhaled. All of the Yin Wind half-martial ancestor's essence, energy, and spirit immediately gathered in his mouth and were swallowed by him. When half-martial ancestor Cold Lightning saw this, she was truly shocked. How is this possible? Someone cried out in alarm. Everyone was indescribably shocked. This black-clothed youth actually killed the celestial clan's Yin Wind half-ancestor with a single punch. This scene was just too unreal. One must know that he was a half-martial ancestor. Half-martial ancestors were existences that surpassed Holy Exalted. However, they were not half-utmost exalted. Half-martial ancestors possessed cultivations between Holy Exalted and half-utmost exalted. Whoosh! Half-martial ancestor Cold Lightning turned into a bolt of lightning and soared into the sky in an attempt to escape. His lightning escape technique was extremely fast, but it was also one of the best. Ji Yufei sneered. He stomped on the ground and instantly soared into the sky, catching up to and surpassing half-martial ancestor Cold Lightning. Go down. Ji Yufei stretched out his right hand and pressed down on the bolt of lightning that soared into the sky. Rumble. The air shook and a huge palm appeared in the sky above Nantian City. It actually suppressed the bolt of lightning that was rushing up from below. The bolt of lightning dissipated and half-martial ancestor Cold Lightning's figure appeared, smashing heavily onto the ground. Everyone watching the battle was shocked to the extreme. Was this person a half-utmost exalted? Only a half-utmost exalted could suppress a half-martial ancestor with one hand. At this moment, the mountain-like palm was still pressing down. Everywhere it passed, the void was annihilated. No, don't kill me. Half-martial ancestor Cold Lightning was scared out of his wits. The power that suppressed him from the sky was too strong. He could not even stand up, let alone escape. He was pressed to the ground and could not move at all. He only had one thought in his mind, and that was not to die. It's too late. Ji Fei had no intention of stopping at all. Boom! As the huge palm fell, the entire Nantian city shook fiercely. Half-martial ancestor Cold Lightning was smashed into minced meat by Ji Fei's palm. Half-martial ancestor Cold Lightning's power was also completely devoured by Ji Fei. After devouring the power of two half-martial ancestors, Ji Fei's aura became even more powerful. Ji Fei's body shook violently, and a terrifying divine path aura erupted from his body. The vast and mighty power waves shook heaven and earth. His cultivation directly broke through to the holy venerate realm. If people knew that Ji Fei had killed two half-martial ancestors even though he was not a holy venerate, it would definitely cause a stir in the entire primordial ancestral planet. This was the power of the eternal martial body. He could challenge existences of a higher realm and kill half-martial ancestors with one hand. Of course, given his previous cultivation, he would probably have been tortured badly if he had encountered a quasi-supreme. Not bad. However, he dared to fight a quasi-supreme now. This guy is crazy. He actually dared to kill someone from the Celestial clan. Everyone in the square was dumbfounded when they saw Ji Fei. There were many people from the Celestial clan in the city, but who would dare to stand out at this time? Just as Ji Fei killed half-martial ancestor Cold Lightning with one palm, the battle between Mo Tianyi and the white-haired beast sovereign erupted again. The extremely violent power waves shook heaven and earth. The sword light that rushed out of Mo Tianyi's body illuminated the entire world. Given his sword principle cultivation, he could indeed be considered the #1 person on the primordial ancestral planet. However, in Ji Fei's eyes, this sword principle cultivation was nothing. The heavenly beast sovereign was also extremely tyrannical. The two powerhouses were evenly matched. However, just a moment ago, a powerful devouring force suddenly appeared between the heaven and earth. In the next moment, countless exotic beasts flew toward the devouring power like dumplings. Their essence, energy, and spirit were directly devoured, and they immediately died. This was a terrifying scene. Countless exotic beasts were like moths flying into a flame, rushing toward the black hole that suddenly appeared on the primordial ancestral planet. Roar! The white-haired beast sovereign almost went crazy when he saw this. His eyes turned red as he desperately tried to force Mo Tianyi to retreat. Go to hell! The white-haired beast sovereign gritted his teeth and emitted a terrifying divine flame. Then, he directly charged toward the huge black hole below. He wanted to perish together with Ji Fei. Ji Fei used the divine steps and displayed the world's fastest speed. He directly rushed out of the square of Tiannan City. The devouring power that erupted from his body could devour heaven and earth. It was extremely terrifying. Chapter 42-27. After Ji Fei killed the Celestial clan's half-martial ancestor, Leng Dian, with a single palm strike, he devoured Leng Dian's cultivation and finally recovered to the Holy Venerate realm. Boom! The shackles in Ji Fei's body were broken. An extremely terrifying aura of the divine path emerged from his body. In the next moment, a monstrous devouring power emerged from his body. Ji Fei was shocked, but he quickly understood what was going on. His cultivation had just recovered to the Holy Venerate level, so he needed a huge amount of Yuan Qi to fill up his empty martial body. As such, his martial body automatically devoured the essence Qi of the world around him. This was a plundering devouring. Countless cultivators in the surroundings flew toward Ji Fei involuntarily. They were about to be devoured by Ji Fei. Even Ji Ling and the others were struggling to hold on. Ji Fei did not want to kill all the living beings in Nantian City to refine his holy venerate martial body. He looked up into the sky and saw that the starry sky was densely packed with exotic beasts. An idea came to him, and he directly shot up into the sky and charged toward the starry sky. At that moment, the devouring power coming from his body became even stronger. The surrounding void could not withstand it, and pitch-black spatial cracks appeared. Mo Tianyi and the white-haired beast sovereign were shocked to see Ji Fei. Essence Qi from all directions gathered toward Ji Fei in a frenzy. His martial body had just recovered to the Holy Venerate level, so the amount of spirit Qi he needed was absolutely massive. At that moment, Countless exotic beasts were enveloped by the devouring power coming from Ji Yufei's body. They all flew toward Ji Yufei. When they were about 1,000 feet away from Ji Yufei, they exploded and turned into clouds of blood mist. The essence qi contained in the exotic beasts was all devoured by Ji Yufei. As each exotic beast exploded into a cloud of blood mist, a beam of divine light rushed out of the blood mist and rushed toward Ji Yufei, entering his body. What is he doing? Diabolism. This is the behavior of diabolism. Using the lives of all living beings as the price to increase one's own cultivation was a great taboo in any world. This was because such existences would do anything to increase their cultivation. This would incite public anger. The people of the demonic path were unscrupulous. They viewed all living beings as ants and harvested their life essence energy to increase their cultivation. Therefore, demons were the common enemy. Now, the method Ji Yufei used was indeed shocking. He could actually plunder the life force and essence of living beings to increase his cultivation. This made everyone's hearts palpitate. At this moment, countless otherworldly beasts were pulled towards Ji Yufei by the devouring power that emanated from his body. How dare you? The white-haired sovereign beast's eyes turned red. These were his subordinates, his army. As the sovereign beast of outer space, this army of beasts was like a sharp weapon in his hands. They helped him attack cities and seize territory, establishing a huge territory. Haha, why wouldn't I dare? What can you do to me? Ji Yufei laughed. At this time, his cultivation had already recovered to the saint sovereign realm. In the human world, where the power of heavenly punishment existed, he no longer had to worry about anyone. Go to hell. The white-haired sovereign beast was enraged. A terrifying beast shadow emerged from his body and pounced directly at Ji Yufei. The entire void of the world was directly shattered by the beast shadow's pounce, turning into a destructive storm that swept towards Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei waited until the beast shadow was in front of him before he clenched his right hand and punched out. Boom! Like a heavenly drum beating, Ji Yufei's fist directly smashed into the head of the charging beast shadow. The violent impact directly shattered the beast shadow's head. However, Ji Yufei was as still as a mountain. Immediately afterward, Ji Yufei's right arm shook and the entire beast shadow was directly shattered, dissipating in the void. The terrifying destructive storm that swept towards him was also punched out a huge hole. What? The white-haired sovereign beast was shocked to see this. In the next moment, something even more shocking happened. He saw that Ji Yufei actually devoured all the scattered essence, including the terrifying destructive storm. He simply didn't let go of any essence of the world. Could this guy be the legendary heaven-devouring beast? The white-haired sovereign beast muttered to himself. At this time, countless otherworldly beasts madly roared, trying to break free from the devouring power. However, it was all in vain. Countless otherworldly beasts exploded around Ji Yufei and turned into a blood mist. Their essence, qi, and spirit were completely devoured by Ji Yufei. As countless otherworldly beasts were crushed by the devouring power that came out of Ji Yufei's body, they were torn apart and turned into blood mist. The entire void was filled with a thick smell of blood. The white-haired sovereign beast's magic power was broken, and he also suffered a great impact. A trace of blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Your opponent is me. Mo Tianyi roared and directly controlled the Black Crow divine sword to attack the white-haired sovereign beast. Buzz! The sound of the sword was heard and the sword light swept across the sky, directly falling towards the white-haired sovereign beast's head. Swoosh! The white-haired sovereign beast directly left an afterimage on the spot, and his real body had already moved thousands of meters away. Mo Tianyi's peerless swordlight followed the white-haired sovereign beast like a shadow. He had already locked onto the white-haired sovereign beast. At this time, no one made a move to stop Ji Yufei. The devouring power that came out of his body became even stronger, and that power shrouded the entire starry sky. In this way, the otherworldly beasts were doomed. Countless otherworldly beasts, densely packed, all rushed towards Ji Yufei. These beasts were not attacking Ji Yufei, but they were all involuntarily flying towards the terrifying figure. Ji Yufei was like a bottomless black hole, devouring the otherworldly beasts' lives. Without any suspense, countless otherworldly beasts fell in groups, and in large groups, all of them collapsed in the void. In the end, there was not a single otherworldly beast within 100,000 miles of the starry sky. Seeing this scene, countless cultivators in Nantian City were directly dumbfounded. They were all dumbfounded, and their eyeballs almost fell to the ground. In Nantian City, there was a deathly silence. At this time, an extremely huge ball of blood appeared in the sky. It was formed by the blood of countless otherworldly beasts, and a peerless and powerful aura of the divine path spread from the ball of blood. Billions of otherworldly beasts became the source of Gu Fei's power. An opening appeared in the formation surrounding the primordial ancestral planet, and the otherworldly beasts within 100,000 miles of Nantian City were directly killed. However, this was only the battle situation in the south of the primordial ancestral planet. In the east, west, and north, there were still countless otherworldly beasts blocking the three main entrances to the primordial ancestral planet. The battle was still going on. Raw.